Years have gone by, Xbox done fried every chance they had. Now it's just bad. Could have changed the game, giving PlayStation a bit of blame. Push them to be better, lived up to the letter. Showed them X marks the spot, but just like we thought, Xbox wasted years, brought us all to tears. Prices shooting high, brings a tear to my eye. Games just get delayed, man, they could have had it made. But now it's on Asher, Asher, oh Asher. Xbox needs your help. Years of mismanagement, old leaders face banishment. Now Asher can rescue it, change it, snap it, fix it. Asher, oh Asher, you're our only hope. We pray that this is real and not just cope. Please save the brand and look us in the eye. Say you're a real person, not just another AI. Everything became an Xbox thanks to Sarah and Phil. Audience hated it, they'd had their fill. Starfield was boring, Call of Duty still blows. Fable looks great, but will we get it? Who knows? But now it's on Asher, Asher, oh Asher. Xbox needs your help. Years of mismanagement, old leaders face banishment. Now Asher can rescue it, change it, snap it, fix it. Asher, oh Asher, you're our only hope. We pray that this is real and not just cope. Please save the brand and look us in the eye. Say you're a real person, not just another AI. Asher, we've been waiting for oh so long, for someone to come and sing a different song. We're tired and sad, but you can give us hope. Prove to us and that it's not just cope. Oh, but now it's on Asher, Asher, oh Asher. Xbox needs your help. Years of mismanagement, old leaders face banishment. Now Asher can rescue it, change it, snap it, fix it. Asher, oh Asher, you're our only hope. We pray that this is real and not just cope. Please save the brand and look us in the eye. Say you're a real person, not just another AI.
Turns out we were wrong. She's a robot. A robot installed by Satya to destroy everything. Should have known. Should have known. It's, it's as with all things. It's not that simple. But that's the beauty of the whole thing that we're going to talk about, is that it is both way more complicated and way more simple than people make it out to be. Like, the problems of Xbox are really straightforward. Solutions, not so much. But the problem is like pretty obvious. It's pretty clear. So we're going to talk about it real quick. Apologies to our friends over on Twitch. Restream crapped out today. They're apparently having some sort of server issue. So we are just on YouTube today. Unfortunately, sorry to our friends over there. But yeah, Restream just is not working. What happened? My foot's getting caught on something. So it's just, it is what it is. I apologize, but there's not much I can do when Restream doesn't want to work. It just is what it is. What you gonna do? Cancel me? I don't care. Cancel me.
At Caleb's92 donated $20 through Super
Jesus,
Chat.
thank you.
Look,
right off the
This
bat.
is Ninja Theory's mom, and they're really upset that they're being closed. It's not our fault that I mean they, in 10 years released a grand total of 12 hours of gameplay across 3 games and a bad live service game.
You know what? Ninja Theory's mom, you raise a good point. That is not their fault. That's not. This isn't funny. People are losing their jobs. That's not funny. Stop it, Caleb. Stop it. I'm sorry, not Caleb. I'm sorry, Ninja Theory's mom. But that's a good point to raise. We're going to talk about it. So, funnily enough, I did record 2 videos yesterday on all of this because we're having some camera issues. So I used our TikTok setup to film it. And I uploaded them for Jacob to put on the live channel. And then I forgot to tell him that I did that. So they're still sitting in the drafts folder. Oops. So I'm going to basically redo what I said to that camera talking to myself yesterday, and we're going to do it that way. It's my bad. Oops. I was in the zone. I was like, wow, I'm so productive. And then I went upstairs, and then I realized this morning that the clips never went up, and I was like, oh, because I never told Jacob that I did that. So I just, I like filmed the whole thing. Was like, done. And then didn't do anything else. So you know what, not new segment. Yeah, sort of stale segment for me at least, but it'll be good either way. We'll get through it. Yeah, professional streamer for real. This is how I roll, man. That's how I roll. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about because the world's ending like slowly but surely. Real quick, I told you so on at least one front, which I just think is fascinating. Xbox is beginning to roll out buy now, pay later programs for the Xbox store for buying consoles. So if you want to finance your console direct through them, you can do that. How nice is that? You can now finance it. My official prediction was that they were going to do this, and they were going to set up lease programs like PlayStation does in the UK for by the time of next generation. They might just expedite it in time for GTA 6. My understanding is that Xbox like isn't going to have hardware on store shelves for GTA 6. Like they can't order more because it's so expensive. So that it's a crazy time, but yeah, they are doing that. They are going to start offering financing directly through the store page, partnering with Klarna to do it, and some other outlets. So there you go. That's another I told you so. Another one that was just interesting I wanted to touch on before we get into the nitty-gritty of all this is that Strauss Zelnick was spotted in the wild. The man himself from Take-Two Interactive fame was spotted in the wild by who else? A TikToker, because of course they were. They're everywhere. It's impossible to escape at this point. Impossible, frankly. Let me show you the little snippet. To be clear, I'm pretty sure that this is like all staged. He knows who this is by the time he goes up to him, but still, it's interesting. They found Strauss walking with, I'm assuming it's his son, but he looks like a background character in a Kesha music video. Either way, he's walking out of a skyscraper in New York City, and this TikToker called the School of Hard Knocks goes up to like wealthy businessmen and women and interviews them, asking for advice and like, do you have any words of wisdom for the next generation, stuff like that. Honestly, I've seen worse content. I'm down for this. This is cool. And he comes up and just starts chatting with them, and it's like, bro, you don't know who you're talking to. You don't know who this even is. You don't even know. Let's hear what he said.
So how did you get rich?
What makes you think I'm rich?
You look like money, man. I had to be billionaires all over the world.
He does look like money. I'm going to be real. I don't know what it is. You walk up to somebody, you can just kind of tell. The real G's, though, are the ones that do not look like money. Like I told you guys, when I worked in real estate, I met some billionaires. I met some people that had stupid money. And you'd be shocked how many of them you would never ever guess were that rich. Like they walk around in these like old jeans and like old beat up button up shirts that have oil stains on them, and there's a reason they're super rich a lot of the time, and often it's because they don't spend money. It's because they just invest chronically. In the case of Strauss, though, he looks rich.
Someone else on the
And
street.
how
I was
did
wearing
you-
a blue suit.
How did you get rich?
I'm in the video game business.
Video games.
Have you played Grand Theft Auto?
GTA?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Do you like it?
I love GTA.
Good.
Is that your company?
That's one of our games, yes.
Are
It's
you
our
serious?
biggest game.
Are you serious? How many copies have you sold?
230 million.
I go all over the world interviewing billionaires to help the younger generation. Can I get a minute with you for the channel?
Sure.
What is GTA 6 coming out, man? The people
November
wanna know.
19th.
November 19th?
Yeah.
Why did it take so long?
The team at Rockstar really does seek to do something that's never been done before. That's really hard and it takes a long time.
What was the most amount of money you made in a single year?
The revenue last year was about 6.7 billion. This year it's expected to be a little over 8 billion.
So you're the video game mogul.
And I've been at it for 19 years and I'm still at it.
Did you go to college?
Yes.
Where'd you go to school?
Harvard
Yes. I went to Harvard.
for law school and business school.
But I'm going to challenge you. I want you to give me one lesson about business right here that is not taught in a Harvard business school.
Never compromise your integrity. It's the only
I'm sorry. I just find that funny because he's like, what is a lesson in business that's not taught at Harvard? And he says, never compromise your integrity, which implies they don't tell people that at Harvard. They're like, no, do whatever you want. Like, who cares? I mean, they are training a lot of lawyers. I'll tell you. Whenever I think of a lawyer, I will say I instantly think of, this is a deep cut. I think of that one scene from B Movie. You know, the B Movie with Seinfeld, where he has a friend who's a mosquito, and the mosquito at the very end of the movie is revealed to have become a lawyer, and he makes a quick off the cuff remark where he says, yeah, I was already a blood-sucking parasite. I just needed a briefcase. And every time I think of a lawyer, I think of that scene in B Movie. I don't know why, but it just happens, you know? It's a good line, honestly.
thing you have.
So you have to keep your word in business is what you're saying.
Unquestionably. I have flaws. There was a time I acted in a way that wasn't consistent with my views about integrity in business. It hurt me really badly, and I learned a powerful lesson. Never do that.
When you
Real quick, to his credit, I mean, can you imagine like any other like executives being really transparent and clear? Like, yeah, no, I made many mistakes, and there's one time where I made a lot of mistakes, and I really wish I didn't do that. And you know, you should never compromise your integrity. I did that once, and never again. I learned my lesson. You know, can you imagine like any of these other corporate bigwigs just being really candid like that? No, it's always, well, you know, I had times where I had a lot of great integrity and everybody loved me. And then there were times where I had a little less and, you know, people loved me just a tad less. It's like, I admire Strauss because even though he runs like a gigantic mega corp, whatever, he's always come off to me as like a straight shooter, you know, as just like down to earth. He's also one of the very, very few executives in gaming that regularly goes against the grain of whatever the trend is. He's the guy that, like, even though they're making GTA, even though investors just want him to talk about AI and generative AI and all this stuff, he's like, no, AI is never going to like replace developers. It doesn't create, it just duplicates and morphs, but it doesn't create stuff. So no, we're not doing that. Like, he's always been just super matter of fact, and I admire that a lot.
approach business, do you have a very long-term view?
I think everyone's looking for an overnight success. My experience is the only overnight successes are someone else's. Everything worth doing is hard and takes a long time.
How old are you today?
How old am I?
Yeah.
68.
If me and you died tomorrow and you had one more message to
He looks really good for 68. Just saying. Just saying. If you've ever seen his workout routine, dude, if you Google him, just his name, it'll pop up with like his workout routines. Dude's an animal.
be with the younger generation, what would that be?
Think about what you truly want in life. Truly want. Not what someone wants for you, and then go for it.
So do you think people should chase their passion, or is that often not great advice?
I think it's terrible advice half the time. People should chase the intersection of what they're good at and what they like to do, with emphasis on what you're good at. Do that thing, the world will probably open up to you.
You have amazing advice, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
I cannot agree more, and I will just say it's important, and this is something like you don't hear a lot, because often people will be like, I want to do this and that, and I want to chase my dreams, and I'm going to do it. And sometimes it's just not in the cards, right? Like I am never going to be in the NBA. I've accepted this. I am not particularly tall. I'm not particularly athletic. Exhibit A. I'm never going to be in the NBA.
Donated $19.99.
So why try?
through Super
You know?
Chat. So a few weeks ago I complained I didn't have a backlog of games to play and it's been a dry couple
yeah,
of years
yeah,
for me,
yeah.
but after this past month I am beyond hyped for all the releases this September and February plus
Oh, so you swung the complete opposite way. So now you're looking at the pipeline and you're like, oh my God. That's happened to a lot of us, dude. September, and then I do think January, February is going to get loaded up with some stuff because even more stuff is going to start to get delayed and bounced over to the next year. So I don't think you're going to be alone. I think a lot of people are going to come flooding in. Luke, we're in the same shirt. Love me some Target. Star Wars. I think my mom got me this shirt for my birthday like years ago. I'm pretty sure. Because like I don't typically get like graphic tees, but I mean it's Star Wars with Luke Skywalker on it, so of course I have to get it. Well, of course, naturally. But thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Kelson Harper 2021 donated $20 through Super
Thank
Chat.
you.
If Fable and Gears are really good, do you think it will be enough to pull Xbox back from the circling the drain?
No. I do not. I'll circle back to this comment. So put a pin in that. I'll circle back to that to kickstart our conversation on all this. But no, like the problems for Xbox are so much bigger than just one or two successful launches. It's especially with Gears. They spend so much money on that game, dude. Like there's I don't think that there's an easy way out of this. We'll talk about that, but yeah, I'll circle back to that. Overall though, I mean, again, I admire Strauss. He's kind of a breath of fresh air in a sea of standard corporate executives that all just kind of say the same exact stuff and have that kind of plastic, artificial response to everything where you can tell they're media trained and they only say what the lawyers approved. Like I've always just gotten the vibe that if you were to sit down with Strauss and ask him like a direct question, what was the biggest mistake you made in your career? I don't think he's going to say, I work too hard. You know, I don't think he's going to give you some of those stupid answers. I think he'll actually think about it and give you an answer,
At
which
Matches
I
Peaches
admire.
donated $19.99 through Super Chat.
Thank you.
I just wanted to let my friend Mark Austin, who is most definitely watching, and possibly gooning, to this stream right now that he is very handsome. Hashtag pride.
And possibly gooning. Well, I'm sorry. I didn't know where that message was going, and that it was a roller coaster. You know what? I admire the hustle. Hashtag pride, indeed. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, and shout out to your friend Mark Austin. Much love. So where was I? Yeah, so we have a good number of things to chat about today. The biggest one, obviously, we got to talk about the Xbox stuff. We're going to run through that because it looks like this, as we've gotten more, like sometimes there's news of layoffs and restructurings and stuff, and it's like, oh, we think it's going to be this bad, but then it ends up being not as bad, you know? Other times, it's just as bad as you thought. It looks like this is going to be way worse than we even initially thought. Okay. So just buckle up. We're going to get into it. We're going to talk about it because it's not just Xbox, to be clear. There's other studios that are in trouble. Don't Nod, for example, that you might know from Life is Strange and Vampire fame. They are apparently in serious trouble because Tencent is refusing to give them more money. They're in trouble. We got another look at AC Black Flag. I have a funny story to share about this, so I'm going to talk about this before we get into the really depressing topic of Xbox layoffs. So I want to talk about this. And then I also got an update. We got updates on the Fable gameplay preview because it does look like there's a reason the combat looked kind of mediocre and really slow and chill. So we're going to talk about that as well. The first thing I have to talk about, though, is just this. So new mini segment. So as you guys probably know, at one point, whatever it was, a month ago, I think, I got the chance to go to Singapore. Really cool, really amazing experience. But the reason I went to Singapore was to go and see like the team behind the Black Flag Resynced game, which was a really cool experience. We got to see a lot, and it was genuinely super, super cool. And very, very humbling as well. We went out, we saw like the demo, we talked to a bunch of the devs. It was honestly really, really cool. One of the devs I got the chance to meet with was a guy named Chris Kirkpatrick, who is one of the like wizards behind the water tech specifically. Okay. So Chris, he is in charge of like the water sim, which everybody agrees is like one of the most impressive parts of Black Flag. And when I met him, he's just like so passionate. I'll just let this little snippet play. It's a minute long, but you'll immediately get the feeling that like this guy loves water.
Oh, I absolutely can't wait for people to see the new foam simulation system that we've built. We actually rebuilt it from the ground up. We are simulating foam in a way that the real world would do. We actually have a bubble map so that the foam can dissipate as the bubbles pop. It's absolutely incredible. One of the greatest innovations I think we've done.
I'm most excited to see the naval. It's so much more detailed in upgrades. It's something very exciting to fully customize the jackdaw, so I'm looking forward to have everyone explore that.
The original game is really quite long and quite a big amount of work that has been done, but the team was able to find small, interesting things to add life to the world of Havana and the Caribbean, so I'm super excited for people to find those things.
I'm very excited for people to re-experience the linear gameplay sequences that we have, so the LGSs, and also just sailing in the world and discovering all the cool things that we have.
My favorite thing actually is the shanty that plays right after its final letter. He's a very beloved character and someone that we really wanted to give a good send-off to. So yeah, no spoilers.
Leave her, Johnny. I yelled that loudly while I was still muted. Leave her! Damn it. Leave her. Fun fact, this guy, Eric John Evangelista, I think, the audio director, he also worked on the original game for Black Flag. And whenever you hear, like if you're doing the underwater sections, if you hear Edward drown, the like audio bite, sound bite, whatever, that's him. That was him. They apparently, when they were testing it and doing like the development of Black Flag originally, they found that when they recorded the audio for the drowning sound effect, if you have like the surface of the water and you record the guy that's drowning only like a few feet under the surface, it doesn't sound right because the water pops like at the surface, or the bubbles pop at the surface. It doesn't sound right to the ear. So they had to record the drowning sound effect way deeper in like a deep end of a pool, like 10 feet down, but they couldn't get, of course, 10 feet. They couldn't get Matt Ryan insured to go down that deep and record it. Like the insurance company for Matt Ryan as an actor wouldn't let him go that deep to record the audio for the drowning sound effect. So they had Eric do it, who was like a junior sound designer, whatever, there at the studio when they were recording the sound effects. Fun fact, right? Fun fact. They needed to record deeper and they couldn't get him insured, so they did it that way. That's a little fun fact. The reason though I wanted to show you this little snippet though initially is because, again, you can see like the absolute passion that like Chris has for water effects and for all of that. Really, really, really passionate about it. And I mean, it looks like it. I mean, it's graphically stunning and amazing. When I met him, when I was in the studio, like immediately you could see there was so much passion and so much focus and detail that goes into all of it. And I was like, he looks so familiar, and I was trying to place it. And then I remembered, so it turns out he's a fan as well. So he might even see this. Hi, Eric, if you see this. But I was like, I recognize him from somewhere. And I realized what it was. I saw a clip of Chris talking about the water sim in a video that they did on Skull and Bones when we were talking about that game like a year and a half ago or whatever. And it's because Skull and Bones, say what you will about it, the water sim and water tech in that game is stunning. And just seeing this go through, they're talking about it. I saw Chris is in this video too. And dude, I had a moment I realized we had done a live segment or a clip or something where I had talked about the water sim. And I was like, I made an off the cuff comment where I was like, he's so cool. He looks like he smells like cinnamon. I kind of want him to meet my parents, you know? It's like, I said all these things. And then I realized I recognized him. And we're in Singapore and we're chatting. And while we're talking, I realized, oh, this is the guy I like kind of said a lot of stuff about. It's getting hot in here. It's getting hot. It was quite funny. So it was that and the fact that the game's director, when I walk in the room, goes, Luke the Mold Stevens. It was a quite humbling experience, I'll be real. But what I will say is Chris and his whole team, they've done a phenomenal job, even if they do smell like cinnamon and I want them to meet my parents. They've done a phenomenal job. And you can see like the water sim, they do like actual freaking bubble simulation where I don't remember half the words he used because like it's way over my head, but they are doing so much in terms of simulating the water and the effects of it that most of the detail you probably won't even notice. Like even little things where like when Edward swings his arm in the water while swimming, they generate bubbles around his arm while it moves in a realistic way. And then the bubbles, they need to pop at realistic times. And those bubbles and like the foam has to also realistically interact with other waves, and also waves like if your ship is going through it, how does that affect it? And other ships with their waves affecting the waves of your ship. You know, there's so many things to consider, but they've built all of that out in a systemic way. So it just works, which is really, really cool. So there you go. A couple of fun facts about Black Flag Resync, the water sim, and how I realized I had said maybe more than I should have while talking about the water sim and Skull and Bones. But you know what? It's because I'm also passionate about this as well. So there you go. The game comes out in like what, 3 weeks or something? We're in the home stretch, fam. We're almost there. Can't wait. I'm here for it. At this point, I'm going to be real. You do cross a line where I feel like sometimes they advertise too much. I've told Ubisoft this before. I was like, honestly, I think sometimes you'd be better off just shadow dropping. Honestly. I think if they shadow dropped Skull and Bones, Jesus, Black Flag, I think they might have actually done just as well as if they do the like 2 to 3 month marketing cycle. Honestly, maybe I'm wrong, but I really think that sometimes there is such a thing as over marketing a product, especially in the game space, where you just talk about it so much that sometimes it kind of kills a bit of the magic and the excitement that comes, dare I say, hype. Sometimes I think just shadow dropping would be a better bet. But we'll see. I get the feeling that there's a good amount of surprises in store in the games space just in general. Like one of the biggest ones, if it's an expected surprise, is it a surprise? I don't know. But like Santa Monica with God of War Lao Fei, this has been every single day. They're posting new fan art, new gameplay tidbits, not new gameplay tidbits, but edits and cuts. And like every day they're doing this. Every single day. I really think that this game is coming way sooner than anyone wants. Leaks are suggesting it could be first half of 2027 after all. Like, so I'm thinking that there's going to be some surprises in the space. But I'm thinking that this is more just a general shift in the industry away from like 2 to 3 year marketing cycles and condensing it down into like 6 month to a year long marketing cycles, which I think is probably a good idea. Because even now we're seeing a lot of studios that announced stuff years ago that are struggling to actually deliver on it, and it doesn't actually end up doing much good. So we'll see. But anyway, real quick, let me catch up on these super chats, then we're going to get into the really sad, depressing news of a lot of layoffs. And there's even now some statements being made by French games journalists who are like close to Arcane, the guys behind Blade and Dishonored and all those games. And those guys are even backing up a lot of this stuff, saying that it's not looking great. So we'll talk about it. And then Jason Schreier is also further saying that there's a lot more than just 3 Xbox studios at risk of closure, and that the Xbox of July will look drastically different than the Xbox of June. It looks like this is about to go like full scorched earth. Like, you know, the months or honestly not months, years of kind of slow and methodical, like, oh, well, we'll downsize this team. Oh, we'll do this. We'll merge this. We'll split this. Like little bitty reshufflings. That's not what's about to happen. What it seems like is about to happen is that Asha is coming in with a chainsaw to start chopping. And they're going to try to cut off the plagued arm and try to get the body healthy again. And it's going to be pretty severe. So we'll talk about that more in just a second. And to be clear, nobody's celebrating that. We're just saying what it is. It looks like this is going to be a pretty insane next few weeks for Xbox, which is all the more insane when you consider that they were like, not that long ago, they had a lot of excitement and a lot of joy around the studio and everything, like, or around the publisher, just in general, the brand. Like after the Xbox showcase, there was a lot of energy, a lot of positivity, and now there's not. To put it lightly, there's not a lot of positivity going around. So yeah, we'll talk about that in just a second. Real quick to catch up on these, hold on, I can't read. Tyler, thank you for that 10. What up, Mr. Luke? Do you think God of War Lao Fei will have more boss fights? Yes. That's all I'll say. Yes. I do think that there's yes. Wesley, thank you for that. Why are women so ashamed to tell us about their age? I don't know, Wesley. I don't know. Was that a reference to something that we talked about? I'm trying to connect the dots with, is it because they asked Strauss what his age was and he said 68? Is that what that was a reference to? I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe ask a lovely lady why she doesn't want to tell you her age. I don't know. Velvet, thank you for the 10. Can I finance Ninja Theory so they can make games again instead of being just the Hellblade studio? Also, any thoughts on the Hellraiser game and it technically being the pinnacle of Gooner games? I tried the Hellraiser game at SGF. Bruh. We'll see how like it ends up actually being in totality, because we played a little bitty sliver. But I will say that game it's not just like standard horror where it's like, oh no, bad guy came in and he wants to chop me up. I don't think I can even repeat verbally some of the lines that were said in the demo we played. Like some of them were like, oh my God, like so, things just casually mentioned in dialogue between like a couple of characters or talking about their relationship. And I'm like, what? Like you can say that, it was crazy. So that's one that's going to be very, very interesting. It's going to be interesting. As for Velvet, your other bit about Ninja Theory making more games instead of just being the Hellblade studio, I think that's part of the problem, is that the only other thing that they've done other than Hellblade in recent memory is the game Bleeding Edge, which, if you don't know what this is, if you haven't heard of it, then that's exactly the problem. This launched and then died within like 6 months or something. It was their version of like live service Overwatch clone. I mean, it was Concord before Concord. It launched and then imploded within like, I think it was like a year. Steam Bleeding Edge, I think it's fully shut down now. You can't even play it. Yeah. It peaked at 1,400 players 6 years ago. But this is why, like the Hellblade stuff, it's important to remember that Hellblade was not like, so there's the first Hellblade, second Hellblade, the originals, Senua's Saga, Sacrifice, whatever. That one, loved it dearly. It's awesome. Really cool game. launched in like 2017, I think, 2018, something like that. They put that out, and then people thought that they were working for like 7 years on the second game that ended up being like 4 hours long. Not true. They made this in between. And technically, when they revealed Hellblade 2 with that crazy graphical showcase of throwing the spear at the giant washing up on the shore, you remember that during the Series X reveal? They were actually working on this game during that time, which is part of the reason I think that like that Hellblade game was like not even fully in production at that point. So again, like it goes back to management. It seems like Xbox bought them to try and make Bleeding Edge a live service thing before they greenlit making another Hellblade. They tried to have their cake and eat it too. Have them make a live service game like Overwatch, and then also make the tentpole graphically stunning game that we can put on the Series X as our like graphical powerhouse game. And it doesn't work. You kind of need to specialize. But this is the problem, is that they're going between Hellblade and this is one that like clearly didn't work. I'm more amazed that they had like 5 players playing it. 3 players as of March, all-time peak of 2 in May. They had 4 players this month. That's not bad. So yeah, Bleeding Edge was a failed experiment for them for sure. But anyway, Sequence, thank you for the 5. Hey Luke, is it true Arcane Lyon is getting shut down? Was really looking forward to the Blade game. We're going to talk about it more in a second, but it's looking like at the very least it is on the table. And I think there's a very good reason that it's on the table, just being real. We'll talk about it. I can't say I'm that shocked, but we'll talk about it. George, thank you for the 2. How do you think the Asha and Todd meeting went? Honestly, I think this is an important thing to understand. Asha seems to do a lot of, whoops, I changed my screen somehow. She seems to do a lot of throwing little like pieces of candy to the fan base and to the audience, even when the plan is to do something totally different, right? Like she will toss a piece of candy while she's preparing to like give you the shot, right? Like she's the doctor that gives you the pat on the head, gives you like the lollipop, and then jams. Apparently this is how you jam like a antibiotic shot or something into your butt. Like she's going to do that. So when she says that like, oh, we're prioritizing Elder Scrolls and Fallout, that's the piece of candy. She's still about to jam a needle in your ass, you know, which is what the layoffs are. Because let's be real, I don't think you can magically expedite Fallout and Elder Scrolls. Like that's just not how that works. You know, like that's just not how that works. You can't just magically make the game ready 3 years early, 4 years early. It doesn't work that way. And so any talk of like, yeah, we'll just expedite it. Asha's going to expedite it. What does that even mean? Even right now, if she was like, hey, Fallout New Vegas 2, Obsidian, go. It's still 4 years away. You know, like that's still like 4 years away. That doesn't work. So I take that with a grain of salt. I saw the tweets and stuff. People will be like, well, Asha just said she's expediting Fallout and Elder Scrolls. Xbox is saved. It's like, I don't think that's happening. You know, I don't think that's happening. It's even expedited. Do you really want, like we saw what Starfield was like when they weren't rushing. Apparently Phil gave them all the time they needed. Apparently the original, and I talked about this in the Starfield saga, Starfield was supposed to launch in like 2021. Imagine Starfield, but with 2 years less development. Can you even fathom? So I don't think you want an expedited Elder Scrolls or a sped up Fallout. So nothing, probably only 400 planets. Like, No, what's fascinating is when you chart it out, and I did this in the Starfield Saga video. You should watch it. It's 8 hours long. Buckle up. But when you chart it out and you take all of Todd's statements, you can see Todd said in 2021, or that he said later about 2021. He said it took until like 2021 to really find the fun. And then Phil Spencer had other comments about how before they did the initial delay, it was supposed to launch the previous year. And if you chart everything out, that means that it was supposed to launch the year that Todd said they still hadn't found the fun, which is amazing. Like, I think it's not impossible that there was a meeting where Todd went to Phil and was like, the game isn't fun, man. We need more time. I don't know what we're doing. Like, I think that probably did happen, which is crazy, but that's what happens in game development. So long story short, I don't think you want an expedited Elder Scrolls or Fallout. I think that's the piece of candy to just tide you over while they try to fix the business. I don't think it means much of anything. Not Locked, thank you for the 20 again. That was very generous. Carson, thank you for the 10 as well. Thank you for that. Hey Luke, do you think Xbox will ever bounce back, or are they at the point where they can't get back to their former glory? They need, and we'll chat about it in detail here in a second. They are violently ill right now. They are viciously ill. They have gonorrhea, chlamydia, freaking tuberculosis, leprosy. They have everything. And the only way to deal with that, I think, is to violently treat it and to get in there and try to radically change things. Because it's pretty clear the slow and steady wins the race thing isn't working. The tweak things a little bit isn't working. You're not going to magically stumble into a panacea. You gotta just take care of business. And that's kind of where they are, because I cannot stress enough. And I just, it's hard to put into words how absolutely broken Xbox is as a business. I'll try to keep the finance talk to a minimum because I know people roll their eyes with it, but I'm just saying what Xbox is and how it operates as a business is so horribly broken. I'm not really amazed that it's in the state it's in. I'm more amazed that Satya hasn't shut it down yet. Like, honestly, with how bad it's gotten. And I'll give you an example here in a minute, but it's just like so absolutely broken that the only way to deal with it is to radically treat it. And unfortunately, that means major changes. And it's paired with the talk where, like, obviously this is something that you would hope you would never need to do. If the company were properly managed, you would never get to this situation. And unfortunately, the way things work is that the people that are responsible for the business being in the state it's in, they just happen to retire. They happen to go and get a smooth departure. They keep their stock options. They go off and become a board member at some other company somewhere else. And they're fine. The people responsible for this cluster are totally fine and are moving on, and they're going to make millions elsewhere as well. But the employees that were just doing their job under idiotic direction, those are the people that are going to lose their jobs. Those are the people whose lives are going to be really affected. And that just sucks. It just sucks. But it also doesn't change the fact that if you want to save the business, you're going to have to deal with some very sick portions of the business. It's kind of like, you know, you got a diseased hand. You can either chop off the hand or you can let it corrupt the whole body and the whole thing dies. That's kind of where they're at now, where it's either you shut down the whole business or you get really aggressive and start chopping. You know, that's basically where they are. Let me see. Almost caught up. Kelson, thank you again for the 20. I'll circle back to that in just a second to kickstart the segment. The Nugget, thank you for the 5. Watching stream while playing Steam Deck on a road trip to Dallas for the World Cup. Thanks for the entertainment, Luke. Much love. That sounds cool. I'm jealous, honestly, that you're able to play the Steam Deck in the car. I get motion sick, dude. I can't do it. I wish I could, but I can't do it. Even sometimes on planes, I'll get motion sick. Not as much, but even on planes, I can get motion sick with it. It really stinks. Really stinks. Chevy, thank you for the 2. Let's be honest, Fable Combat has never been great. No, it's not the reason you play those games. Let's be totally honest. It's why I said in that segment, like, is it that big of a deal? No, but you'd like it to be better. Same with like Lip Sync. Lip sync has never been a strength of Fable, you know, but it's not why you're playing those types of games, you know? So is it, if it could get better, great. Is it totally necessary? I don't think so. Jimothy, thank you. 25 months. Ooh, baby. Hi, this is Chris's mom. Can you please stop talking about him like that? It's making him uncomfortable. He will not be meeting your parents. But I want him to. He can talk to them about bubbles and water simulation. Jay, thank you for that. Hey, Luke, love to see your success, man. It's amazing. Sorry if you already said this, but did they confirm that they're doing any modern day NAC resync? No, my understanding, well, when we ask them about modern day stuff, all they say is that they've removed the modern day stuff in favor of rifts, and those rifts explore like alternative timelines, alternative choices. So like if Edward were corrupted by the gold and the power, how would that affect him? And they might do a cutscene in like an alternative timeline to show you that story arc. That's my understanding, but they never explicitly said there's no modern day. They just didn't want to talk about that and said we're doing rifts instead. So maybe, but I wouldn't expect it. Honestly, I wouldn't expect it. Davis, thank you for, or Davis, I think, Davis, thank you for the super chat. Luke, I just found out me and my wife are going to be parents. Congratulations, my friend. That's wonderful. Congratulations. Any tips or advice? I'm excited and also terrified. I don't blame you. That's very exciting, but also a little scary. Totally feel you. Though, I mean, there's the inevitable advice that people give when they're like, enjoy sleep now because this is the last time you get it. You know, that's something everybody says. But aside from that, stereotypical normal advice, whatever, one piece of advice I didn't get that I would love to have received: lower back stretches. I said it. You do not realize, unless you are already doing like a lot of deadlifts, you do not realize how much bending over there is with a baby. Like there's so much bending over cribs, bending in to get the car seat, doing all this. Yeah, spinal, literally. The first 2 weeks of my son's life were a whirlwind and a blur, absolutely. But my lower back was so freaking sore. It was crazy. So for our second child, I made a point to do a lot of lower back stretches, do a lot of lower back strengthening exercises as well. Made a world of difference, especially somebody that like sits in a chair a lot. My lower spinal area was weaker than it should have been. So I heavily recommend to do that. Stretch a lot. You'll thank me for it. It's one of those things, if you don't do it, you will instantly regret it. But if you do it, you'll never feel that pain, but it's still important to keep up on the stretches, you know? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, as they say. So lower back stretches all day, a day in the like month leading up. Even little stuff like just standing, feet touching, straight legs, bend down and touch your toes. Something as simple as that, really focusing on loosening right above your hips. It'll change your life. Okay. Heavily recommend it. Okay. Okay. And then last one, then we'll get into the segment. Then we'll catch up on the others. Okay. Thank you for your patience, guys. Leo, thank you for the 5. Hey, Luke, Adventures of Elliot in 2 days. Have you had the chance to play? What do you recommend playing it on Nintendo Switch? I can't talk. Nintendo Switch 2, Steam Deck, or PS5. Adventures of Elliot, The Millennium Tales. It does launch on June 18th. That's crazy. I have not had the chance to play it yet myself. It does look like something I would really enjoy because like those like 2.5D graphics, I eat it up. I'm gonna be real. Octopath Traveler, for example, that's one of my guilty pleasure games, like on long flights. I love me some Octopath. So I do think I will eventually check it out. Maybe not at launch, but I do think I'll eventually check it out. As for platform of choice for that, probably Switch 2, just for battery life. Like it's pretty baller. Replaced, yeah, dude, Replaced is one of the most, I think they execute on that art style beautifully. I should say that, yeah. If you, Leo, if you've not tried Replaced yet and you like that art style, oh baby, it'll blow your mind. It's so good. Okay. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's talk about Misery, and then I will catch up on super chats and stuff. Thank you for that, guys. Thank you. Okay. New segment. All right, everybody. So to lead into our super fun conversation about Xbox imploding and everything being terrible and sad. And now, again, we thought the layoffs and restructurings were going to be bad. As the last day has played out, it's just getting worse and worse. Like, it looks like this is not going to be 2 or 3 studios. It looks like they seriously could, like, by the actual definition of the term, decimate their studio lineup, which just means reducing by at least a 10th. They could actually decimate their portfolio. No joke. That's how bad this is. To lead into this, it's paired with a super chat from Kelson. Thank you, Kelson Harper, for the very generous 20. If Fable and Gears are really good, do you think that will be enough to pull Xbox back from circling the drain? I don't think so. I think, like, it's important before we get into all of these tidbits and all these stories about layoffs. Now there's French journalists talking about other studios potentially in the mix for shutdown. I think it's important before we get into all of that nitty gritty detail to just understand where Xbox is to set the stage. Okay. We knew Xbox was in trouble. We knew they were in a bad spot with Phil Spencer's departure and Sarah Bond's departure, but everybody's kind of in a rough spot right now. The games industry is tough. Hardware is expensive. So, like, how bad could it really be? Bro, we were not ready. I don't think anybody, industry analyst or casual consumer, knew or understood just how devastatingly bad this was. And like, the clearest example or analogy maybe to put is that we thought that Xbox, like, had a reversible illness and that, like, okay, well, you just take your antibiotics, you work on it for a little bit, you'll eventually kick it, but, you know, you got to rest up a lot, you got to be more careful with what you're doing, don't go crazy. Like, we thought that they were on the medication, on the path back with Asha. After the Xbox showcase, there was a lot of positive energy. People thought, oh, doing exclusives, that could repair the brand, all that. Turns out they have leprosy. Turns out they've got every chronic, whatever, like, disease you can imagine that causes your skin to crust over. You're turning into sort of a lizard, and the doctors don't know why. Like, they are so ill financially and as a business with, like, brand reputation and market share and everything. It's frankly hard to describe just how bad it really is. The first and most clear stat that was raised and brought up by Asha herself was, of course, the reveal of their accountability margin as it currently sits. So just to put this in very simple terms, so we can kind of set the stage. Asha described how they will end the year at 3% accountability margin, which is a special version of margin. Like, it's not just margin, it's what Microsoft uses. It has some carve outs, things that they don't count in the stat that other companies would. But for broad strokes, it's margin, okay? She's saying their business is operating at 3% margin by the end of this year. That is wild because, just to put it in perspective, Nintendo operates around 15%, and this stat will change depending on where you are in the console generation. Historically, early in the console gen, this number is lower because you are subsidizing hardware. And as the generation goes on, this will go up because you start to make more and more money on the console hardware as costs drop. So you can make more, you're not losing as much. In addition to other things like your long-term platform, once you get more users that have bought into your ecosystem, they're buying games, you're taking a digital cut, like a 30% cut of every copy of every digital game. And so your margins start to widen, right? So early in the generation, it's tight, but it broadens. Later in the generation, you make way more money, and that makes it all worth it. Nintendo right now operates at like 15%. Sony is somewhere between 12 and 13%, depending on who you ask and how the numbers are run. But they're operating around here. When Hiroki Totoki took over and booted out Jim Ryan retired, wink. This number for Sony was down at 6%. And that was bad enough that Sony basically cleared out executive leadership at PlayStation, tried to go and reverse the live service push, all of that. Xbox is at 3%, which is insane. And the reason I need to stress that is because where Xbox is right now, right now, we'll do it live. We'll do it live. Look it up. We'll do it live. Damn it. 2-year treasury yields. They are currently priced at 4.047%. Okay. One of the most basic things in finance is to understand that U.S. treasuries are considered risk-free. Okay. That's just how it works. Okay. So treasuries are considered risk-free. You add on to that another premium, and that's usually how you land with, like, these are 2-year treasuries. But if you look at like 10-year, 30 years, that's what they use to pivot off of, like, for mortgages and things like that. All of these super fun stats are used to calculate those things. Okay. Even 10 years are at 4.4. Okay. The reason why it's important to understand that these are considered risk-free is because the idea is basically that you can buy a 2-year treasury getting 4% on your money, and that will pay out risk-free. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about it. Okay. Where Xbox is right now is they're basically offering executives within Microsoft a choice. And I'm going to chart this out because I want you to understand just how insane this is. You have 2 choices, okay? Say it's your money. Let's just use round numbers. They want you with option A. This is Xbox, okay? Xbox, right here. I can't write Xbox. And then this is, we'll just say, treasuries. Yay. Okay. Either way, you're putting in $100. Xbox, you put in 100, wait, however many years it takes to make a game, or just for your business. And Xbox says, okay, we will pay out $103, maybe. This could be 103
1776-N6
or less.
Donated $20 through Super Chat.
Thank you.
Games take longer to develop than before. However, Insomniac Miles Morales 2020, Rift Apart 2021, Spider-Man 2 2023.
Cut off. Yes, they do take longer to develop before. However, Miles Morales, Rift Apart, to Skyrim, Skyrim likely 6 to 17 years. Yeah, timelines are insane, and we'll talk about that here in a second, because that also ties into like Blade, what they're doing with expediting allegedly Fallout and Elder Scrolls. All of that ties into this. Absolutely. Thank you for the 20. Very generous. But basically, Xbox is saying, hey, put in 100, time will go by, we'll spit out 103. Or maybe only 80. You only get $80 back. You might lose money, but you might also make $3. Not a great selling point, honestly. If you're an investor, if you're Microsoft, why would you risk losing money for the potential of making $3? How does that make any sense? And then you have the treasuries where you can put in $100 and you will make 104. Absolutely. You will make more, and there is zero risk of losing money. Why in God's green earth would anybody choose option A when option B pays more with zero risk? Who would choose option A? No one, because it's stupid, because it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Now, there's a lot more nuance and complexity to this to understand. Like, there's the potential that Xbox widens the margin, that maybe there is one smash success, but it's important to understand that we're not talking about any singular project when we're looking at margin. When Xbox says they're operating on 3% margin, what they mean is like, that's for the whole business. Because the way their business works is that it's not about just Gears of War doing well and turning a profit, or just Fable doing well and turning a profit, or just Forza doing well and turning a profit. Because if one game does really well, it has to pay for all the others that didn't do well. So you don't get for Xbox to look at individual products. You have to look at the whole operation because of how Game Pass works, right? You have to look at the whole picture.
6,184 donated $20 through Super Chat.
Thank you. Super generous.
Is Free
today.
Roam
My goodness.
podcast still happening?
Thank you.
If not, how can I replace you and Jor's dazzling chemistry?
Yes, I do want to do it. Our schedules have gotten very, very tricky to juggle, but yes, I do still want to do it. A lot of it is that we tended to talk a lot about like Horizon, Sony open world games, like Assassin's Creed and stuff, and then we got into like a drought with a lot of that stuff.
At MR10
but yeah, we do want to
years
circle back.
underscore and
Yes.
underscore the underscore joint donated $20 through Super Chat.
Thank you.
No green shirt.
I'm
sad
sorry.
face.
I'm sorry I clickbaited you again. 10 years. I'm sorry I did it again. The shirt doesn't match the thumbnail. You're right. You got me. You got me. Jordan ghosted Luke. Oh, yeah. No, he. I told him to come to LA again. He was like, mm-mm. No. Thank you, my friends. Very generous. Very generous. I'll catch up on all the others here in just a minute. So, the reason I just want to lay this out is because I need everybody to understand how Xbox as a business is uninvestable as it sits. And that is a word that doesn't get thrown around a lot because typically any business, unless you're in early startup phase or you're in the AI bubble, this doesn't work. Like obviously for some companies, like, you know, with frickin' an AI startup, they're like, hey, give me $200 billion and I'm going to spend it all and give you nothing back. That works in like the AI industry. That's fine. But in a mature quote unquote industry with a brand that's been around for decades, this is unacceptable. Nobody's going to put money into this. But this is where Xbox is. Okay. So if the problem is margin, that's the problem. They're not making enough money for the money they're spending and the money they're bringing in. They're not keeping enough of it. What do you do? How do you fix this? How do you right the ship? What's the solution? Well, it's fairly straightforward. You either make more money and bring more money in, or you have to like cut your expenses, right? Because all it really is at the end of the day is your revenue minus your expenses is going to equal your profit, right? Like that's pretty much what we're dealing with. So you either make this number go up or you make this number go down. And then you'll end up with more money in your pocket. The problem is this is a lot easier said than done. Hey, make more money, please. Like that doesn't really work that way. Or you stop spending as much and you end up with more money in your pocket. And again, this is all like very watered down, but it gives you the broad strokes idea of what's going on. What Xbox is going to try to do, of course, is make more money. That's why they're doubling down on their biggest franchises. Asha said that they're going to double down more on those, and they're going to stop trying these more like niche games that don't have mass market appeal. That's why a lot of the games and studios that we're about to talk about, you'll notice a lot of them are not big commercial heavy hitters. You're not seeing discussions of like shutting down Call of Duty. You're hearing discussions of shutting down like the artsy fartsy studio, right? So there's that. Doubling down on the big stuff, big IP, big studios. That means doubling down on Call of Duty, doubling down on Gears, on Forza, on Fallout, on Elder Scrolls. Double down on all of that because those have proven that they make money and they can generate returns that are higher than 3%, to put it lightly. And so by doubling down on those, that also means there's less money and resources to go to the smaller, more niche products. That means that those studios, they don't really have a place within Xbox. And this is why I think this is so jarring, because Phil Spencer, when he was in charge, he had this vision of Xbox as this home for everyone, like that you could have the big guys like Call of Duty, and they would basically subsidize and make so much money that they would pay for the compulsion games, Double Fine, that they'd pay for the games like Pentiment from Obsidian. They'd pay for the more experimental niche artsy games that aren't financially viable by themselves as products, but can fit within the subscription model of Game Pass because the big guys covered the bills, right? That's pretty much entirely being tossed out the window. That utopian idea that Phil Spencer had of there's room for everyone in the tent. Nope. Turns out there's just room for the big guys. We need a smaller tent. That's kind of where they're at. The big tent's too expensive. So what are they looking at doing? Well, the news started with a few studios, namely Compulsion, who are the guys behind South of Midnight, and like We Happy Few and those guys. Compulsion Games, Double Fine, Turn 10, some of these like smaller studios were being tossed around. In the last day or so, we've started to get a lot more information, and it appears that this is way bigger than just a few studios. For example, there's reports coming in that there's a shocking number of studios actively negotiating with Xbox executives to try and get out of this and try to go independent. What that probably looks like is that they try to find independent investors. They try to go and just find somebody who can buy them out of Xbox and take them private. It's a lot easier said than done, because again, why does Xbox want to get rid of these studios? Because they're not making money. So you're going to go find investors who buy you out to not make money, like what, how does that work? Like it's a tough sell. It's a tough sell. And there are potential tax incentives for Xbox as a company to shut down a studio over dumping it, selling it off, whatever. People often ask, like, why do they shut down studios instead of selling them off? A lot of the time it's like for tax incentives, tax reasonings. There's sometimes debt obligations and things where, like, if a company has a lot of debt, if a firm has a lot of debt, if you sell that company to somebody else, they have to take the debt with them. Right? Just like if you have a credit card and you move, you're taking your credit card with you, right? But if you die, your credit card just kind of, they zero it out and it's like, okay, well, whatever. And they move on. So for them, it just makes sense to let it die. There's a lot of moving parts to this that you have to consider. It's not always as simple as just take company, move it over here, or take company, sell it. A lot of the time it's a lot of other more complicated stuff going on behind the scenes with how it was set up financially, how they were bankrolling everything, and all of that. Now, realistically, how this works is that a few of these studios probably do find independent buyers. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some negotiation that happens, and maybe Ninja Theory is able to find a way out of this, and they are able to negotiate a way to go independent, and later they're scooped up by PlayStation. Maybe they're scooped up by Embracer Group or Nintendo or somebody like that. You never know. I think some of these studios will find a way out of it. I think the coolest one would be if Double Fine could find a way to get purchased by Nintendo. I've seen a lot of people online talking about that. Once I heard the idea, I was like, dude, that would actually be amazing. That'd be so good. But we'll see. But with this right now, basically what the reporting is suggesting is that people at Ninja Theory, people at Compulsion, they have been told by people within the studio that we're done unless we can find somebody and like a life preserver, basically. Ninja Theory, it appears they actually had a meeting yesterday in the early afternoon or late morning, and employees were told, we're done unless we can find a buyer or something like that, which is a tough spot to be. That's where they're at. Please also save Don't Nod too. That's another great company. Well, yeah, and that's another thing. Don't Nod also has run out of, or is about to run out of money, I believe in November. And they previously relied on Tencent bankrolling them, and Tencent apparently has said that they are no longer investing further. So Tencent is done just throwing money and wants a return, and they're just done. So yeah. Donut sold a minority stake in the company to Tencent in 2020. They got on the board, and they had enough cash on hand as of April 26 for 8.8 million euros. And they will run out of money in November. And so if they don't find some solution by then, they will, like, that's it. Game over, Red Rover. So yeah, and I want to be clear, like this is not just Xbox, it's across the industry. This is happening all over the place. But it's just been building and building within Xbox for a long time, and now they are just at the point where like they need to deal with it, which is really unfortunate. And I want to like mention that with all of this, none of this is said in like celebration or joyously or anything. What is really frustrating about just the way corporate America, but also just internationally, all corporations kind of work this way. Inevitably, the executives who are responsible for the ship sinking, they almost always have a golden parachute and are gone by the time the crap hits the fan, right? We knew that Xbox was in a bad spot. We knew that the brand like reputation had dropped and was not doing great. I didn't know it was this bad. Like this is on a whole other level of bad where the company literally is uninvestable. Like that, it's hard to put into words how bad it is. We didn't know it was this bad. We knew that there were problems. We didn't know it was this bad. It really has become very, very clear that like Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond were running this into the ground. Like bad, real bad. And conveniently, you know, they got to like Phil got to retire and Sarah like just drifts off. I think she's on the board of directors for like Tyson Chicken and she's going to do just fine elsewhere, making millions, doing other stuff. Like those executives who are responsible for all this are the ones that always get to just drift off and they don't have to deal with any of this. And unfortunately, I do think that, you know, a lot of the blame lands on Asha's shoulders. I think she probably understood that when she took the job. I think it's become clear in the next or over the last few, like couple of months and certainly few weeks, just how bad it was. There was reportings, take it or leave it, from one journalist. I don't have it in front of me, but one journalist was saying that they had sources indicating to them that it only really became clear how bad Xbox's financial position was in the like week leading up to the Xbox showcase. So in the last like 2 to 3 weeks is when they really actually realized and untangled the web of finances to understand how bad things really were. And this has been a common thing in the last decade or so as streaming has become big, because subscription-based monetization models can work great. They also tend to be very convoluted and they tend to bury costs for this project and bundle it with the cost for this project, and all this gets kind of tossed together. So it's really easy to just like ignore specifics because you're just looking at big picture. And when the big picture is good and you're Netflix printing money, nobody really cares. But eventually you need to start looking at it and being like, wait, we spent $500 million on a reboot of a 90s TV show that 30 people watched. What are we doing? You know, you have to eventually come back to reality, which is what happened with Netflix, happened with Disney Plus, happened with Hulu, happened with all of these subscription models. And it's also happening at Xbox as well, it seems, is that they just finally are looking at it and going, we can't keep burning money on stuff that isn't performant. And I think that's the other piece of this. Like, in addition to just how sucky it is that the people responsible don't suffer any consequences, it's the employees that were just showing up to work doing what their bosses told them to do. They're the ones that get fired. They're the ones whose lives get upended, whose families become destabilized and are forced to move and are laid off. You know, that just sucks across the board. That again, the executives ride off into the sunset. They have a big going away party and that's it. That just sucks. But the other piece of this too is, you know, some people are pointing in, even in some of the articles and stuff, everything is framed around like Xbox is planning to shutter Peabody award-winning South of Midnight Studio Compulsion Games. And if you don't know, the Peabody, or as real G's call it, Peabody, the Peabody Awards, they are like an award for outstanding excellence in radio broadcasting was the original one. It was the equivalent of the Pulitzer Prize when it was initially put together, but now it's kind of spread and it's used to give awards for like outstanding storytelling in media, cross media, stuff like that. And it is true that the team behind South of Midnight won that award and that Xbox is now getting rid of them. But two things can be true at the same time. You can have an award-winning studio, a studio with world-class talent that's very, very good. And they can also make products that nobody buys. You know, like it's possible for you to be really good at X, but that doesn't mean that people pay you money for it. You know, like it's I don't understand why people are like so baffled with stuff like this. Xbox pretty clearly has never cared that much about awards. You know, like, it's not been a priority for them. And so it doesn't surprise me that for them, they're like, yeah, we don't need a trophy studio. We need a company that's not imploding. And so for them, they're looking at it and it's like, yes, they won an award. That's great. We need to be able to pay the bills before we care about trophies on our shelves, you know? When you are financially stable, you can spend money on this stuff. A great example of this kind of situation, these types of businesses are often called like, sometimes I don't like the term, but they're called like vanity projects or vanity companies. They're companies and operations that exist just to kind of like make the owners feel good about themselves, you know, but they're not financially stable or performant. And I understand why they use the term vanity projects or vanity companies. I get that, but I just personally find it sounds bad, you know, but it's not necessarily a bad thing, but you get what I mean. My favorite example of this working though is Laika. Does anybody know Laika? Does anybody heard of that? Laika? I know Jacob has heard of it for sure. But has anybody in chat heard of Laika? Anybody know what I'm talking about? Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about? Maybe. Yeah, Laika is a fantastic example of this because Laika makes stop motion animation and film. So you might recognize some of these box trolls. I love the box trolls, all these little trolls walking about. They also did Paranorman, they did Coraline, they've done all this stuff. Their movies, except for Coraline, like none of them make money. I think Coraline is, I could be wrong. I believe Coraline is the only movie they've ever made that actually turned a profit. How are they able to operate? Well, it's because Laika is owned by a family, a couple of people, but their background is actually right here. Okay, so the owner, Phil Knight. Whoops, I just opened his page again. Phil Knight and Travis Knight. You might recognize one of their companies because Phil is an American billionaire businessman who's the co-founder and chairman of Nike. And his son, Travis, is really passionate about claymation of all things. And so Phil goes and basically bankrolls Laika to make stop motion animation and claymation films. And even though they are not profitable, even though they don't make money, they have a wealthy benefactor who pays the bills. So even though these movies lose money, Phil still spends the money to keep the lights on, because for one, his son is passionate about it, but also because it's kind of a way of giving back artistically to the world, right? So you can have something like this. You can have an award-winning studio like Laika operational if you are financially stable, which obviously the billionaire co-founder of Nike, he's doing just fine. Xbox is like sick with leprosy and is being asked to keep these guys afloat when they can barely stand themselves. You know, that's basically where we are. So Xbox is in a position where they need to prioritize keeping the business healthy before they go and move forward with anything else. So Compulsion, I liked South of Midnight. I thought South of Midnight, especially for Game Pass, was a really cool offering, really unique. I thought it was really cool. But it apparently performed financially very, very poorly. And so for Xbox right now, they're just choosing where they put resources. They need resources going to projects that make money and that don't lose tons of money. And that's just where we are. And again, it sucks because they were allowed to make South of Midnight. They were allowed to make these games that aren't financially incredible by the previous leadership. and the previous leadership doesn't suffer any consequences, but the studio gets shut down. You know, that sucks. I agree. I think if it was being led by competent leaders, they wouldn't have greenlit, understanding the full financial picture. They wouldn't have greenlit projects like Kiln, for example. The idea that Kiln as a game was greenlit was always weird to me, because like it looks cool and wacky as like just a different kind of game. If you don't know, this is from Double Fine. And I love Double Fine. They're incredible. They do such wacky, creative games. It's really, really cool. But the idea that this received millions of dollars in funding, like what? You know, and again, really cool. As an indie project, this could be great. Even then, it's not that likely to turn a profit. It's a really risky endeavor as a multiplayer game, because these are very expensive to build and maintain. But you know, whatever. But like this, again, they were greenlit to do this by the previous leadership. The previous leadership leaves, doesn't suffer any consequences, but the team is left holding the vase when all is said and done. So it looks like Double Fine is in trouble. Compulsion's in trouble. Ninja Theory, of course, in massive trouble. All these studios that we kind of expected to maybe be in some hot water are in that spot. But one of the studios that a lot of discussion and debate has been circling around is Arcane. If you don't know, Arcane has been you know, they've been chugging along working on something. They had a very big trailer drop a couple of years ago, December of 2023. So we're going on 3 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago. In this trailer, I can't play the music or we'll get copyright struck. But this, of course, was for the Blade game, and it really excited a ton of people. Everyone was like super pumped for it, looked awesome, and then they've just disappeared. Nobody knows where the project is, what state it's in, but we do know a couple of things, namely that this was a trailer saying it's now in development, which could mean literally anything. It's a Marvel game, which means they have to pay licensing fees for it. And it's coming from Arcane, who, let's just say, they've not had the best track record in the last decade. This kind of blew my mind, but if you look at it, their last, like, I think smash success was probably Prey. Deathloop reviewed really well. I thought it was like fun. I thought it was pretty good, but Deathloop also, like, no spoilers. There's a twist towards the end of the game where it just like, it almost ruins the whole game for me, honestly. I don't want to get into it because it's a whole other can of worms. I could ramble about that for like half an hour by itself, and don't you doubt me, I totally could. I did a like critique review video on it. It's just bizarre. I don't understand. Like it's fun. I don't understand how people were giving this like a 10 out of 10, but anyway, they like Prey was like very, very well received and did really well. Of course, Dishonored 2, they were really nailing it for a handful of years there. And then they had a big oopsie with Redfall. We all remember Redfall. And they've been working on this Blade game since at least 2023, when they revealed it was in development, and that's it. It still allegedly is a couple of years away at the earliest. And this is where I need you to put on your like plague doctor hat or mask, okay? If you are looking at Xbox's lineup right now and you say, we just need games that make a lot of money because our margins are so low, we can't even convince leadership to invest in us at all, because it just doesn't make sense, as we outlined at the top. So what do we do? Well, Marvel's big, Blade could be big, but they're taking a few years. Their last game was a colossal flop. Granted, that was from Arcane Austin, which is not the same team as Arcane Lyon. Arcane Lyon, of course, being on the other side of the planet, basically. Arcane Austin was shut down by Microsoft after the collapse of Redfall. So totally, like, technically different, but still the same company. You know, we could let them spend another couple of years burning money building out this game, and then we got to pay Marvel 30%. You know, like, that's not great. You know, because as we saw with like the Insomniac leaks, like Sony with the Spider-Man games, with Wolverine, with some of the other stuff they're doing, they like break even is not what you would think for most companies. Like most companies, they sell 5 million copies. That is a remarkable success. That's incredible. One of the best-selling games of the year. That's amazing. Amazing, really. For these Marvel licensed games, you have to sell like 7 to 8 million copies to break even. Just to not lose money. You have to be one of the best-selling games of the entire year to not lose money. And let's be totally honest here. Are we that confident that they're going to be able to deliver the like 90 on Metacritic that you need for that to sell 8 million copies? That's one of those moments where, as if you're the guy that's got to write the check for this, are you willing to bet that money on that project when you, again, just like pretty good is not enough. You need to be so exceptional, you're one of the best-selling games of the entire year, to not lose money. That's a tough sell. That's a really tough sell. And we don't know what we don't know, obviously. Like, it's possible that Blade looks amazing. It's possible. It's also possible that there's a reason we haven't seen another trailer. It's also possible that it's having some development troubles. Maybe it's possible they just did a review and they need more time. Maybe now it's looking like 3 years. Because as with all these things, you got to remember, as time increases, the total spend on the game is also increasing. It's not like, you know, when we're talking about timelines, it's not like the total spending happens up front and then flattens. Typically in game development, it looks more like this. So if they're saying that, oh, we thought we were here, turns out we're here. That's not good. That's not good. Like, again, whenever you're starting to question these things, just break it down and go like, okay, if I had to put my own money in, even if, you know, you're not paying for the whole thing, even if you were just investing proportionally and you're like, okay, I'm going to put in 1,000 of my own dollars, but there's a solid 50% chance that I get less than 1,000 back. Very few people would do that, especially when you can put that money in so many other places where you will absolutely get at the very least that money back, if not guaranteed more, with like a high yield savings account or something. Like, there's just, when you understand how unstable this is and how like Xbox has created a platform where they are not generating profit, you got to understand that. And then everything gets painted in a different light. Then projects like Redfall stop, or projects like Blade rather, stop making sense. It just doesn't really work, you know? Phil would, and that's why Phil doesn't work there anymore. Exactly. Further statements like this. Jason Schreier, who has lots of contacts within these studios, said this: these are not the only 3 Xbox studios, speaking of Compulsion, Double Fine, and Ninja Theory. Said these are not the only 3 Xbox studios at risk of closure, not just downsizing, but closure. But there's still a lot of uncertainty surrounding the company, Xbox's plans. More to come in the next few days and weeks. Safe to say that the Xbox of July will look drastically different than the Xbox of June. And this isn't even considering layoffs. There's now reporting and rumors swirling that even within other studios that you would probably have assumed were safe, there's rumors swirling that even they are facing layoffs and downsizing and rescaling and stuff. Even potentially like Bethesda Game Studios facing restructurings. That's probably how they'll phrase it instead of layoffs. But like, there's people working there who are saying that they've heard rumblings that they might not be safe, where like they need to cut 10% of the headcount, you know, embrace new tools that can expedite efficiency, things like that. Wink. You all have Copilot, don't you? You know, there's rumors that like within some of the big companies like Activision, there's going to be restructurings. Like one person who claimed at least to work on like Overwatch was saying they had heard rumblings over lunch that there was some instability and the potential for restructurings. Like this, I think, is going to be a major shakeup that frankly has been a very, 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 very long time coming, but it does seem to actually be about to happen. And it's gonna be messy. There's no other way to put it. But again, when you understand the current positioning of Xbox, you need to understand that I know like the sound of me using the term leprosy as like the illness that they have sounds like really dramatic and maybe even like ridiculous. But the reason I use that is because they're at a spot now where it really is, you got to cut off the rot and do some major overhauls and changes, fundamental changes. Otherwise, the whole body will fail. And that's where they are. Like it is either you go in and start chopping, or all of Xbox will shut down. Because again, put on your Satya Nadella hat. If you are in the position that he is in, where your primary goal is to make investors happy, the shareholders and stakeholders happy. If that's your primary goal, is to specifically shareholders, why in God's green earth would you continue operating a branch of your business that is uninvestable, that is so broken, you would make more money putting it in a Wells Fargo high yield savings account than operating that business? Why would you keep it open? Do you think he's scared of shutting it down? I don't think so. You know what happened when Microsoft, when all this news broke yesterday of massive layoffs hitting Xbox? You know what happened? Their stock price went up. Investors celebrated. Shareholders were jubilant, clapping. Finally, Satya's going to fix it. I think if he decided he was done, and they announced that Xbox is going to sunset, we're going to shut it down, and we're going to spin off some studios, we're going to sell Activision Blizzard, we're going to take this company private, but this one we're going to flip public. And they announced that they were going to basically just divest. They're going to dump everything. Some of it's going to sell, some of it will shut down and write off, but they're going to just dump it. If they announce that, I really do think the stock price goes up that day. And that's kind of what we're dealing with. Like, we're dealing with the old rancher who's looking at a dog that is plagued with rabies. And you have the potential to save the dog if you chop something, do something crazy to get rid of the rabies bite. That rabies is a bad example because once you have it, you're done. Once symptoms show, you're done. But maybe a rattlesnake bite. Let's use that. You know, you got the rattlesnake bite on the dog, and you got the old rancher who has no problem putting old Yeller down, you know? That's kind of where we're at. So it's either you take crazy action now and you get the poison out, or grandpa's going to take the dog out back. You know, that's where Xbox is right now. And it sucks because it should have never gotten to this place. It should have never been in this situation. If the company were managed properly, this never happened, or this should never happen, but they're here now. And so you can't rewrite the past. No use crying over spilled milk. You got to do what you got to do. And it seems like that's the task that is before Asha. My feeling is that if you really truly want to save Xbox, they have to be pretty aggressive with this. And I would just say, rip the freaking Band-Aid off. Like, don't do this thing where you stretch it out over 6 months, over a year of like slow and steady layoffs. Rip the Band-Aid off, get it done. And then focus on rebuilding, resetting, the whole reset of Xbox. And this starts to make sense. Remember what Asha was saying in the week before the Xbox showcase when she was doing media? And it's also paired with the new reporting that apparently they only really started to understand how bad things were financially in the week leading up to the Xbox showcase. So when she's doing all these interviews and discovering how bad the financial situation was, what did she say? She said the reset of Xbox is upon us. The next 100 days, we have to reset the business. I think that she's probably ripping the Band-Aid off. I think she's going to get in here. It's going to be crazy aggressive, pretty insane. And it's going to be messy, probably isn't even the right word, but I think it's going to be a lot more than people think. But it's kind of do this or Xbox actually dies. Because again, Satya is the farmer with an itchy trigger finger who hasn't killed anything in a while and is really, really excited to have a chance to put another animal down. Like he's that kind of sociopathic farmer. That's where he's at, okay? And he sees a dog that's plagued with rattlesnake bites and whatever else. And he's like, seems about time. I've been waiting for this one. Like he's that guy. Okay. So they got to do something, and it's do it now or never, because there won't be a company to fix. Like I think Satya has no problem. He's like, I told you had a year to fix it. You didn't fix it. So we're shutting it down. And I don't think he would care. I don't think he would lose a lick of sleep. I think he'd be rewarded by shareholders. I don't think he would worry about it at all. Now, shifting gears a little. Let's say this happens. Mass layoffs, studio closures, restructurings, all this stuff happens over the next probably 45 to 60 days. Where does that leave Xbox? Well, they kind of wait for the news to settle. Everything kind of chills out over the course of the end of the summer. We head into the fall. A lot of the discourse will be taken over by some of the other games that are coming out, but they hope to start the ball rolling again in terms of positivity with things like Gears, with Fable early next year. It's expected that they're going to have like Fallout and Elder Scrolls announcements probably sooner rather than later. I think when Asha says that she wants to focus and prioritize and like expedite Elder Scrolls and Fallout, I think that probably doesn't mean faster game releases. I think that means faster like trailer drops. Like now, after hearing that and seeing how bad this is, I think Asha pretty clearly likes getting the quick brownie points and excitement to get people excited. So I would expect that there's probably going to be an Elder Scrolls 6 trailer next year. Even though the game I don't think will be out next year, I think it's going to be another year away. I think that she has them put a trailer together. And Todd's like, no, I want to do 6 months marketing. She's like, I don't care. I think that that's probably the type of thing that we'll start to see. Trailers earlier to get excitement built and things like that. And she's going to try to change the narrative because she's, to her credit, quite good at that. I don't envy her. She was given this job with the mandate of trying to save, a sinking ship. And she knows what she has to do to at least have a chance at doing it. But that's where we are. What I haven't heard mentioned is startup mentality. I guess I could use more, if you could elaborate on that with what you mean, I would appreciate it because I'm not sure exactly what you mean. If you just mean like these companies are operating on a startup mentality, like losing money and just hand waving it away like it's going to be okay. Sure. I think it's just clear that that mindset doesn't work for Microsoft after you've been operating Game Pass for 5 or 6 years. At this point, I think it's been longer than that, but in its modern form for this whole generation, and you still can't make money. What are we doing? What are we doing? She accepted a poison chalice for sure. Well, and to her credit, and this is the real thing for Asha, if she's able to get in here and restructure things like crazy, and there will be much weeping, wailing, and gnashing of teeth. Absolutely. Social media on the day that all of this is actually laid out is going to be a disaster zone. I'd hate to have her inbox. But if she's able to do that, reset the company, get it financially stable, and then start investing and bringing back exclusives and building this out.
Drinker Gary donated £20 through Super Chat.
She could
don't
actually
know a lot
save
about
it.
this, but why don't Xbox and PS stop making consoles to save money? Put their own stores on a console made by a neutral company. They have exclusives in their stores and fans don't have to get two consoles.
And fans don't have to get two consoles. So what you're basically describing is like a platform where hardware becomes third party and they just become publishers that partner with those exclusively, this and that. Funnily enough, what you're describing is actually similar to what a couple of investment analysts have expected Microsoft to do for the next gen Xbox. At least as I understand your point. So PC, I mean, it's basically PC, which is kind of funny. But what is expected is that Microsoft is actively talking with third-party manufacturers or OEMs to handle the production of either the next-gen Xbox or a variant of it. So if they want to, like if Xbox can't generate good hardware pricing for their Project Helix or whatever, they would go to a third party and build out their own version of it that gets the Xbox stamp to be that platform. Very, very similar to what just happened with the ROG Xbox Ally X, you know, where it's an ROG product, but it has the Microsoft Xbox stamp. That probably is something that's going to happen as well. Very similar to what they just saw with like the NVIDIA Spark PCs that are using ARM chips. They'll be made by a bunch of different companies, but they'll each have like the certified NVIDIA Spark whatever device. That's part of the vision. I don't personally think that Microsoft is the company that's going to be able to nail that because, yeah, I see Multi-Good Kid says, great, Xbox with more bloat. Yeah, that's the inevitability with those OEM partner products is that they always have a ton of bloat, unfortunately. But yeah, I think that they're investigating all options because it's pretty clear that they're not going to probably be able to manage throwing together an Xbox Project Helix or whatever that is truly affordable. Because again, like this is the other backdrop, and it's what I was saying before the super chat. If Asha can turn this around, she will be thanked and praised, and she will have basically single-handedly saved the Xbox platform and truly like Xbox as an entity. It's a lot of work though, and it is so close to just being put down that it's hard to put into clear words. Like they are on the knife's edge, the cliff's edge, whatever you want to say. Like they are that close. But it's possible, and it seems like Satya is at least giving her a chance. But it does seem like she's probably not got that much time. I think Satya is like, you got 100 days because if you don't start seeing meaningful improvements by the end of the summer, I'm shutting it down. You know, like what are we going to do? Jones, really? That's crazy. You were just scrolling TikTok and a mobile game ad came up using your voice and Timu Luke up in the corner. I have a screenshot to send you. Please do. They used my face like for an AI mobile game ad. Interesting. Yeah, send me the screenshot. We can sue them. That's crazy. That's wild. So anyway, with all this said, there is a chance to save it. She's got a ton of work to do, but it's possible in a year there's a lot of positivity and people are excited again, and all of these closures will be kind of a distant memory. That's very, very possible. It's, not easy to do. It's easier said than done, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible. That being said, I do think it's going to be a tough road ahead. And I think the Jason Schreier tweet is the most unnerving. Just the quiet comment of the Xbox of July will look very different than the Xbox of June. I think it's very, very likely that Xbox is literally about to decimate their studio portfolio. Like I think that the big poster that has all the studio logos is actually about to get literally like smaller, significantly smaller. But I don't think they have much of a choice. It's that or Satya shuts it down and the entire poster goes away. That's just where we are. So anyway, there you go. Oh, now that we got that out of the way, we can try to shift into something not as crazy depressing. Let me finish catching up on these real quick, your comments and super chats and things. Let me see where I left off. Let's see, not locked in for the 5. I'm just not sold on the cube humor in God of War. I really hope he's not an annoying character. I'll probably see how tolerable he is. Yeah, I do think a lot of people are kind of waiting on the sidelines to see how the cube is, if it is too annoying or not. We will see. We will see, but we just don't know yet. The Quantico Man, thank you for the 10. Very generous. Luke, have you ever considered doing impression videos for video game movies? If so, why haven't you done one? I would like to. It's mainly that I haven't figured out the format to do that without getting everything copyright struck and like the hammer slammed down. But I do think we have a new way of doing it, which would be through like members only content.
£30 through Super Chat. Xbox could make lots of money by have a live on TV pay-per-view firing of Emil Paliarulo rolling on the floor laughing.
I will say, it is kind of a hilarious idea to just find like a developer or an executive that fans don't like and then offer a pay-per-view where you could even have it in a boxing ring and they just sit in a chair at a desk across from Asha. You're fired. The whole broadcast is like 30 seconds long. Dude, I'd probably pay for that. That would be kind of funny. Xbox Hunger Games. Oh, there you go. You got to fight for your job. That, you know what? I'm open to creative solutions. That's one of the more creative ones I've heard. The roast of Emil. Dude, people would show up to a roast of Todd Howard. I'm telling you what, like, imagine if they did that type of thing. You could raise money for charity. It doesn't even have to be for Xbox. I think that'd be so fun. I think that'd be great. I think great. Thank you for the very generous 30 pounds. That's crazy. Very, very generous. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. I'll send an email with your suggestion. We'll see if they respond. We'll see if they talk to me ever again. Gavin, thank you for the 5. Let's see. What would be more game changing for the industry? The next Witcher trilogy coming out in 6 years or GTA 6 selling for 70 or under? Oh. Honestly, I think if GTA launched at 70 or even 60, if they just didn't totally gouge everybody, I think it would be really, really good for the industry. It would be like the ultimate, okay, nobody can cross that line. Nobody can go to 80 because even GTA 6 didn't. But let's be honest, they're probably starting at 80. I mean, I think because they can. Like, as I said, on day one, if they were going to sell 10 million copies at 70, going to 80, I think they sell 9,999,900. Like, I don't think that many people of day one buyers are gonna scoff at the extra 10. You go to 90, I think that starts to lose people. 80, I think everybody's already braced for it. Personally, that's my guess. But we'll see. We'll see. We should find out soon because Strauss said that marketing for GTA 6 will start this summer. Summer starts on June 21st. So any day now, we should be hearing, next week to the week following. We should start to hear stuff like that, like pre-orders opening, all of that stuff. Let's see. Where did I leave off? Leo, thank you for the 5. Thoughts on Asmongold / David Jaffa taking shots at Lao Fei? Asmon saying he hasn't played since God of War 1. Will creators care if stuff like this gets worse? I mean, just to be upfront and honest, I don't know what Asmon or David Jaffa said about or Jaffe. Maybe you mean Jaffe. David, I don't know what those guys said specifically about the game, so I'm not sure what their thoughts are. Just so I wouldn't want to comment specifically on their thoughts. As with any new game, there's a mixture of discourse, some like valid concerns, some that I think are kind of trying hard to find and poke holes and stuff. If you're worried about like dialogue being annoying from the cube, I think that's a fair concern. That's a common trend and thread with a lot of modern like AAA games, that the writing for companions is pretty poor. I think that's a fair concern to have. If you are more like, I'm not going to play it because it's a woman, I think that's silly and stupid. But I think that often like legitimate critiques or concerns get lumped into all of the like not illegitimate, but like the more silly concerns, and they all get tossed out, and then you can't have any discourse about the game at all, because even if you have like a valid frustration, like with Ghost of Yotei, I thought the story wasn't as good, anywhere close to as good as Ghost of Tsushima. I don't think that's that controversial of an opinion, but people were trying to say that I was saying that because you play as a female character. I was like, no, I don't care as like playing as a female character. I just think like the revenge story is really boring. Like it just well, compared to like Jin Sakai's story arc, that was so beautifully executed and so well done. Like it was so good. But I just thought Yotei's story landed really flat for me. But inevitably with some discourse, when it starts to get riled up, you can't have any productive conversation. Otherwise, everybody gets tossed into the same bucket. So I don't know specifically what they said about God of War. I think God of War Lao Fei looks really crazy cool. And having followed it for a long time and knowing like how much stuff has been set up for this game specifically, I'm all the more excited. Like we'll keep it vague, but like any sort of moment where you're like, what was that? In God of War 2018 or Ragnarok, anything you thought might have been unanswered or anything you might have considered to be a plot hole, those are all things that are going to be answered and are going to blow your freaking mind. Like seriously, look at this. This is a snippet from, I believe, God of War 2018. This is from close to a decade ago. Okay. This is a 9-second clip of Corey talking about some of the stuff that they did.
I have so many things in there that are just setups for much later and much later and really far later. So I'm a lunatic.
Talking of God of War 2018, back in 18, saying, I have a lot of stuff in God of War 2018 and much later, probably meaning Ragnarok, and much later, meaning Lao Fei. And all these things are just setups. And like, there's so many things. People point to like Who Blew the Horn as an example of that. Dude, there's so much more. There are so many more things that they set up that are going to be revealed. Like I am not joking when I say that I think the majority of God of War Lao Fei was written and charted out 10 years ago when they were building God of War 2018. I think it's going to blow your mind. Okay, it's going to blow your mind. I'm very, very excited for it. So I don't know what their specific frustrations were or whatever. Maybe they were legitimate. Maybe they were silly. I don't know. I, for one, though, am really excited. I think it looks crazy. And I think it's going to blow people's minds with some of the stuff that was set up a decade ago that's going to come to fruition and come full circle. Let's see. Sherry, thank you for the 10. Do you think that Microsoft would actually sell Xbox? And is Asha just trying to clean up their books to make it look better for buyers? Who do you think could even buy it? That's the problem, is that I don't think there's anybody who could just buy Xbox. Why would you buy a car that doesn't drive? Why would you buy a laundromat that doesn't have washing machines? Why would you buy a restaurant that has no refrigerator or kitchen? Like, that's where Xbox is, you know? I don't think anybody wants to buy it, has the money to spend on it. So the only way to offload it, I think, would be to piecemeal it, like break it up, sell Activision, sell King, sell ZeniMax, you know, and kind of divvy it up. And even then, there's big questions as to who would be able to buy it and who would want to do it. Elon, I don't think you'd want Elon to buy it, because Elon also said he's starting his own AI game development company. I think he would like merge it with SpaceX and it would turn into like the AI game studio company. I think it would probably be bad. Like Elon as an engineer, clearly you can catch rockets with chopsticks. That's cool. But I don't think you'd want him running a video game company. Just my personal opinion, as somebody that doesn't want just robot games. As for what she's actually trying to do, I think she legitimately is trying to salvage it, because they know they'd have to take some massive losses if they were to shut it down. But I think they're at the point where it's like, salvage it or shut it down. Like, I think that's where you're at. Let's see. Spies Arcanum, thank you for the 5. Purchased Avowed halfway through the game. Gotta say, the game was worth the buy. Better than Skyrim. Cancel me. Spies Arcanum. Honest question in chat. Is it nowadays in 2026, is it a really bold or hot take to like say you like a game more than Skyrim, or has the narrative changed? I don't know. Most people are like, no, Skyrim's great with mods. I don't hear a lot of people that love vanilla Skyrim. You know, I don't hear a lot of people that talk about vanilla Skyrim, but I don't know if that's just my bubble because I know a lot of people that mod games, you know, so I honestly don't know where the line is or if that is a really hot take, but I'm not sure. Zombie Cubed, thank you for the 5. Any chance of a DLC for Fallout or Skyrim coming out that would lead into the new game like Witcher DLC that's coming out? I don't think so. I'm just going to be real. I think if they do something like that, it would be a Fallout 76 update. They would do the crossover event in Fallout 76. I'm just being real. Like, I don't think they would go back to Fallout 4. I think if they were to do it, they would just do it in Fallout 76 and it would be like some little like NPC that, hey, we're headed to a new land. Follow us. And then you check their inventory and it's a map to the next game's location or something. It'll be something like that. That's just going to like, yay. I would just, again, with a lot of this stuff, I would just say, keep your expectations low. That would be cool, but I would not expect it. Zach, thank you for that. Xbox is literally the naked gun. Everything is fine. Nothing to see here. Well, that's what makes it so jarring when like they have an upbeat season with the game shows and everything is super fun, and then everything turns to absolute ass so quickly. It's wild. Brandon, thank you for 42 months. Oh, baby. Let's announce a $1,000 console to a dying player base and then spend $400 million on an exclusive game for the same player base that's also been dying for years. Get that man an executive position right now. Right now. Also, I don't think Project Helix is going to be $1,000. I said it. I outlined this the other day. Sarah Bond said in 2024, 2025, she said Project Helix is going to be an enthusiast product. It's going to be a premium product, the most powerful console ever made, and that will be on the market. I think she was saying in 2024, she was suggesting it was going to be over $1,000 at that point. Asha just said a week ago their hardware costs by the time they hit 2027 will have gone up 5x compared to, quote, where they were 2 years ago. So if in 2025 it was looking like a $1,200 machine, and Asha says in 2027 costs have gone 5x, 1,200 times 5. Uh-oh. I don't think Helix is gonna be $1,000. I think Helix without major redesigns is a lot more than that. So I think they are doing some frantic redesigns right now. Like, I think there's been rumors, Jez Corden floated the idea. He did not report this. People were trying to say he reported it. It was just floated as an idea. But he said, I wouldn't be surprised if they like don't do like no controller in the box. I wouldn't be surprised at that either. I think they're going to try to shave costs wherever they can. It's like no controller in the box. If you want to buy a version of Project Helix with a controller in the box, it's extra, right? Or you have to buy it separately. They're going to do the iPhone, like no charging brick inside. No, like storage. I wouldn't be surprised if the next gen Xbox has 256 gigs or 128 gigs. It's like basically nothing. And the only way to upgrade it is either with an NVMe M.2 SSD that you buy yourself, or maybe they do like the proprietary expansion cards like they did this generation. But I think that they're going to try to find ways to shave costs everywhere. Yeah, exactly. You're The cable to plug it in the wall is only a foot long. If you want the long one, that's extra. Oh God. Yeah, I think that they're gonna try to save money every which way they can, because seriously, I don't think people truly appreciate how insane prices have gotten, specifically for a company like Xbox. They are in bad shape. They're in trouble. It's really, really bad. Yeah, no case. Yeah, they're gonna be like, you guys love the clear Xbox, so we just didn't put a plastic shell over it. Don't touch it. It will kill you. Just don't. The cardboard box it comes in is the shell. There you go. Jesus. Is it too late to ask for Scalebound? I think, Tom, thank you for the 10. We might be, yeah. I think it might be too late. Let's see. Spies. Arcanium, thank you for that one. Why can't they pitch niche games and do a pre-order system non-refundable? And once they reach a mark, they produce the game, if not refund. That's what Kickstarter is, basically. And that's how Double Fine funded their like previous games. I think kickstarted one, and then they went through another fundraising platform for Psychonauts 2. I think, but yeah, they've done that before. But that's basically what's going to happen, is that these more indie niche studios are going to have to go independent and find their own way of financing games. Sometimes it'll be through something like a Kickstarter, other times it'll be through outside investment, but that's how it's going to have to be. Second playthrough, thank you for the 10. Hey Luke, do you think Xbox could have avoided this if they instead contracted studios for individual games or IPs like Sony did with From Software and Bloodborne? Potentially, yeah, instead of buying them out, contracting them to do that stuff. I think that could help. I think one of the omnipresent issues for Xbox is that they just frankly struggle with identifying what the big heavy hitters are going to be. It was the amazing talent of like Sean Layden and Shohei Yoshida, is that they were able to see games in the pitch phase and know that that was going to be huge. So like when they were greenlighting all of these massive games that took the PS4 generation by storm, they were able to see the potential in an idea and in a pitch and greenlight it 3, 4, or 5 years before it would see the light of day, right? Xbox, their leadership does not have that same talent, it seems. They will greenlight stuff and put all their eggs in a basket that ends up turning into Redfall. They'll greenlight a project, put all their eggs in the basket, and it ends up being like, what's another one that they had? I mean, I guess you could say Starfield, but like even Starfield, I think did okay for them in terms of the numbers they care about, like hours played. But like the fact that it's kind of hard to think of like Xbox big line games that were, well, I guess Hellblade 2 is an example. They just have really struggled with the delivery. You know, Hellblade 2 costs 100 million reportedly. Yeah, like where did that money go, dude? It's 4 hours, 25 million per hour. What is this, Call of Duty? Like, what are we doing? Do you think Xbox and Asha should try to hire Sean Layden? Why the hell not, dude? Like, if you have talent like that is such a unique talent to spot those ideas early. It's really hard to quantify. And then you see like the antithesis of that is like Jim Ryan with PlayStation, because it's not just an Xbox problem. Jim Ryan, he went and like, it's like, yeah, no, absolutely. People are going to love Concord. Same with Herman Holst. People are going to love this. This is going to be a Star Wars level franchise. So it's not just an Xbox problem. There's executives across the industry that run into this issue. I want to be very clear about that. The difference is that PlayStation was financially stable enough that they could handle that. Xbox was making misses and placing wrong bets, but they weren't making money elsewhere. So, you know, got into some big trouble. But that's the big problem for Xbox, is that it's a lot easier to pick winners than you would think. You know, there's ideas that sound really good, but you can't think about what sounds good now. You got to think what sounds good in 5 years when the game is done, or make games faster. You know, it's tricky. PlayStation owns Destiny, but thought that Concord was their Star Wars. It's the most delusional thing ever, right? Like, it really is. I cannot wait for the retrospectives in like 5 years that just go over the whole like Bungie debacle with the final answers of what happened with everything. It's just, what a cluster, dude. What a cluster. Let's see. Francisco the Disco. Thank you for that. Is it too mean to say that a studio that takes 7 years to release a 9-hour game with allegedly $100 million budget probably isn't worth saving? I'd feel bad for Ninja Theory, but I've played Senua 2. Yeah, and I think it's like, I felt really bad making that video when I reviewed it, because like I am not joking. I thought I accidentally found a secret early ending when I played Hellblade 2, because I was just playing it and then it's over and you're like, I thought like the game was starting. I thought I just got done with a prologue and credits are rolling. I thought it was like that Far Cry thing in Far Cry 4, where if you just stay at the table for like 15 minutes, the credits roll. I thought I had accidentally stumbled into like some fake ending or alternative ending. I was stunned. And then it's like, no, that's, I legitimately reloaded and replayed the last chapter. And sure enough, no, that's the game. I rewatched the recorded footage. I was like, no, I did what he says and everything. What is happening? But that was the game. And it really, really hurt because like I loved the first game. I thought it was so good. And then the second game was legitimately one of the most disappointing games I think I've personally ever played, because I was expecting so much more. It was so bad. It was just so disappointing. Like what was there was solid enough, but there was just nothing more than like a little taste. It was wild. How they spend so much time and money on it, I don't know. But that's another point, is like Xbox executives should have seen well in advance, you're telling me that this is going to be 4 hours long? And then they should have tried it and been like, guys, what are we doing? And they should have, you know, put a pin in that and stopped that well in advance. But it's just baffling that it happens so often. But yeah, it's without a doubt, there's a lot of these studios that are taking hundreds of millions of dollars to make games that don't perform financially. And now they're acting like fans and everybody are acting shocked that that doesn't work. It's like, no, it doesn't work. It was under the assumption that Call of Duty would basically subsidize the whole thing. Turns out that works if Call of Duty is printing money. But if you have 1 year where Call of Duty doesn't do very well, which last year it didn't do super well, that doesn't work. You know, doesn't work. Destin, another slow news week. Thank goodness for a break, right, Luke? Yeah. No. It's like we always say after Summer Games Fest, things slow down. Yeah. There's always something, dude. I think this will happen. There will be much wailing and gnashing of teeth, and then July will go very quiet for like 3 weeks, and then August things will start to pick up again. But yeah, it's absolutely wild. Spies, like Everwind by Rare, I would have supported, crowdfunded to get the game off the ground as long as I get a copy in return. Yeah, they do think some people would. The problem is you're not going to raise $100 million doing that. But that's where these companies are at. But like that's part of it, is like Compulsion is based in Montreal and Double Fine is based in San Francisco. Those are two of the most like expensive cities in North America. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. And so like, I think honestly, one of the best ways for these studios to stay afloat would be literally to move. Like if the studio announced that they're reincorporating to Missouri, all of a sudden these games would not cost $100 million to make, but you got to get all the artists and people to move there, which is the tricky bit. But if it's like do that or you don't have a job, maybe that is the way to do it. You know? I don't know. Let's see. Blake, thank you for the 2. Everyone needs to postpone. Next gen can't afford it. I don't think they can either. That's the problem. H3 or Heroics, that's what it is. It's so strange that it seems like the longer Xbox and Bungie are separated, the worse they both seem to do. They need each other. Like, it's like, the two organisms that have to feed off of each other's blood supply. There it is. Convincing people to willingly move to Missouri. Now that's a task. Yeah, exactly. Dude, it's crazy to think that if you went to the studio in San Francisco and said, hey guys, everyone's fired, or we can move to Missouri. And people would go, you know, I've always, you know, I do like making coffee. Being a barista is not bad. Like it's crazy, but it's also not that simple. I get it. You live in San Fran. Probably your family lives in San Fran. It's not that simple to just move. But like seriously, a lot of these problems in Western game development get fixed if you move to a cheaper part of the world. You know, like it's a lot of these problems are that because of where the studios are based, cost of living is ungodly, and so you have to pay an average salary like in the 6-figure range, and that just doesn't mathematically work out when your game sells 5,000 copies. You know, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't, the math doesn't math. But that changes if you go somewhere cheaper, and then you can afford to pay people cheaper and they can maintain the same quality of life there. You know, it works way better. Games can be made basically everywhere. Well, and that's part of it, is that now with like cloud development, whether it's with Unreal Engine or any of the other tools that like Sony's been developing with Haven, you can theoretically have your studio based in an inexpensive city with like 100 or 200 people, and then have everybody else working remote in cheaper parts of the world. That can work. Those economies of scale can function and can operate well. That's what Rockstar is doing. As we looked at it with like Rockstar India, based on their financial filings, they have 1,700 employees in India. And I believe when we looked at it, the average annual salary within Rockstar India was like 8,000 USD a year. How are you supposed to compete in San Francisco asking for 120 a year? You know, how does that work? Isn't working remote what caused a ton of games to fail? Well, working remote is a lot easier said than done, because managing people internationally is a whole other kit and caboodle. There's other things like security concerns. Productivity also drops if you're just working remote, according to producers I've talked about. I know that's like a hot button issue. Some people think it doesn't drop productivity. I think it just changes per person. Some people are really good at working remote and are more productive than in the office. Other people, they spend half the day watching Netflix. Like, let's just be honest. So it depends on the person. But if we're talking about like satellite studios like Rockstar has, where they have a massive studio in India, and that's an entire basically standalone company there, that can work way better because they're in office. They're just at a satellite studio, you know. I'm working right now, says Tom, and we thank you for it. I won't tell if you don't. Tea drinker Gary, thank you for the 20 again. That was very, very generous of you. Thank you. Francisco the Disco, thank you for the 5. Asha is such a fresh breath of fresh. I can't read. Is such a breath of fresh air because Xbox didn't seem to have any desire to make players happy and make money. I want me Elder Scrolls. I do think if she can get in there and go crazy and clean house and like reorganize everything, within a year and a half, like Xbox could actually be in a really healthy spot. You just have to stop burning money on some of this stuff and return to profitability. And like clearly they know what they have to do. It's just going to be really unpopular for a while, but you got to just do it, you know, because it's that or everyone loses their job. It's either some people lose their job right now or the whole thing goes belly up. And that's just where they are. Kenneth, thank you for the 5. Thoughts on Larian Fallout and if it's possible. I don't have any like super secret news. I've chatted with some of the people that have worked at Larian. They will never say clearly what like went on between them and Hasbro, but I do not think Larian wants to do licensed stuff, full stop, period. I don't think they want to do that again. Like I think they are at this point big enough and successful enough that they are going to do what they want to do. They don't want somebody else telling them what to do, and doing licensed stuff means people are telling you what to do. And why would they want to give up 20-30% of every copy sold if they don't have to? I agree, a Larian Fallout game would be amazing. It would be so good, but I don't think they're going to do it. Trafalgar, thank you for the 5. Sorry, random. How's Denver's airport? My flight stops there next month. Easy to get around. I've stopped and got lost at others. It is fairly easy to understand, but it is massive. So plan for time to get to your gate because it's huge. There's like the terminal when you get there. If you're doing a connection, it's kind of like this, where there's terminal C, B, A. There's a train that you ride to get from terminal to terminal. There's one train that goes this way, that heads back, and then there's another train that goes the other way to lead back. So just check which terminal you're in, but understand that if you land in C and you gotta, like, your connection's in A, you're gonna have to take a train back to get there. The nice thing is everything is pretty easy to grasp. So, it's like, oh, you're at C47. Okay, walk to the center, hop on the train, go back to B, and then you've got your connection. Like, it's really very straightforward. It's just huge. So be ready for a lot of walking. Just being real. Just being honest. Wallet the Great, thank you for that one. Oop, I scrolled too far. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. Where'd it go? That stamp is going to be expensive. That's why third-party Xbox controllers are more expensive than regular third-party controller without the branding. Yeah, absolutely. They want to make a little bit of money on it, but those third-party consoles, even with the stamp, may end up being cheaper than if Xbox made the console themselves. Christopher, thank you for the 5. Why can't Microsoft get over their own hubris and just be a third-party publisher like Sega and watch the money roll in? I've said they should do this for years. It's possible that that's what the route they do instead of fully sunsetting it, but I think that there's Satya and Asha, they see the potential. Like, if they can get Xbox operating similarly to PlayStation or Nintendo, it'll make a lot more money than if they just go third-party publisher. It's just a lot easier said than done, like, it's not that simple. But they see the potential if they can figure their crap out. Spies, if Xbox closes, PlayStation is going to heat up all IPs. It's going to kill gaming. Or eat up. I think you mean eat up all the IPs. It's killing gaming. I think PlayStation would just see the opportunity to try stupid stuff like the live service push again. I don't think it would actually, I don't think it would probably end up being great. Tank, let's see. Tank Dempsey, thank you for the 2. I'm going through God of War 2, aged so well. Wow, dude, the OG God of War games are fantastic. Olive Trees, good to see you. Thank you for the 5. Luke, my wife is staying with me despite your handsomeness, so that's good. Oh. Good. That's a good thing. I'm glad to hear it. Square Nation, thank you for the 5. Ragnarok has a lot of setup too. It is very much a misdirection. Even with Odin, some things are odd. They're building a very large story. Yes. I cannot wait to see all of the connections. It's going to be like a freaking spiderweb, dude. RPG, thank you for that. Luke, did you try Valor Mortis or Mortal Shell 2 demos? They're insanely good. Also, more than State of Play and Xbox, Duskblood's reveal was worse. Dude, I have no freaking clue what they're doing with Duskbloods. That whole thing is bizarre to me. I don't understand. I don't know what the hell they're doing. As for Valor Mortis and Mortal Shell, did not try Mortal Shell, did try Valor Mortis. Yeah, dude, it looks baller. Valor Mortis just delayed out of September now, which I think was the right move. But yeah, they those are going to be baller, I think. Excuse me, my coffee's wearing off. Oh my God. Chevet, thank you for the 2. Elon is an imbecile. The people he hires are smart. Yes, I like the people that he's smart. Dude, when we were in LA, I brought the Starlink mini dish that I have because our hotel Wi-Fi sucked. So dude, like, we literally were able to go and like use Starlink on the hotel roof because it was faster than hotel Wi-Fi. Like that, it was like science fiction. It was bizarre. It was so cool. It was so freaking cool. So I love me some Starlink stuff. Do I think it's worth $2 trillion? Personally, as a finance dude, but maybe one day. Right now, I think that's a little insane. But somebody asked me, they're like, Luke, how much money did you put in the Starlink IPO? I was like, most IPOs drop. I think it's like 85% of IPOs drop like 56% in the first year. So buying an IPO is usually like risky business. Very few IPOs just go straight up. Usually there's a dip and then they start to balance out. But yeah, I would not I would not buy into many IPOs, I'll tell you what. Even if I love the company, I just wouldn't. RPG Veteran, thank you for that. Speaking of Rockstar India, I'm a software engineer here in Canada. We get paid somewhere between 80 and 110K, but depending on experience. But my friends back in India probably make 10K Canadian a year in comparison. Yeah, when we looked at the video that broke down the 10K filings for Rockstar, and as part of that, Rockstar India, the numbers will blow your mind. But like, their average salaries are between 6,000 and 8,000 USD, or I think it was in pounds, British pounds. But it was between 6,000 and 8,000 a year for like senior animation work and stuff. And it's like, yeah, they have 1,700 employees at that price point. You'd be able to employ like literally a tenth of that, maybe, if you were operating in another country. Like, it's just, the math doesn't work. You know, when you start to go international like that, if you can get the talent, and it just breaks down. The Distinguished Dragon, thank you for the 10. Hey, Luke, do you think AC Black Flag is going to affect how many people will play Palworld 1.0? Black Flag is on the 9th, Palworld is on the 10th. I honestly am not sure. I think the people who are into Palworld are pretty well committed. I think... But then again, like Black Flag, I think is a big enough thing that it probably makes a bigger splash. But who knows? Who knows? I'm not sure. I think it's going to be interesting to see them both go head to head. I'm not sure why they chose to go right next to each other, but clearly they're not worried. So probably not a ton of overlap. Degrees Below, thank you for 18 months. Oh, baby. Hey, Luke, currently in the DR. Maybe doctor, listening to you while sitting in a raft, or sailing in a raft. Wait, you're in the DR. Listening to you while sailing in a raft. Your island trips are a must. I hope GTA 6. Oh, Dominican Republic. Okay, I was trying to decipher DR. I was like, okay, in the Dominican Republic right now, sailing in a raft. Dude, that's crazy. The fact that you can do that while I'm streaming in the middle of Colorado. Like, what is happening? You're right. Island trips are a must. I hope GTA 6 trailer doesn't drop while I'm away. It would be funny if it dropped the moment you lose internet connectivity, but probably not. I don't think we will see it until maybe, like, he said summer, so I would guess probably next Monday is when it's possible. So you've got a week. I think you got a week. Vessel, thank you for that. Have you checked Double Fine's or Kiln's Steam CCU performance yet? The numbers are astonishing. Yeah, dude, it's like, obviously it's a multiplayer game and it's on Game Pass, so it's not going to have a huge player base on Steam versus Xbox, but still, I don't think you can look at that and be like super thrilled. You know, with those numbers, they've got like 5 concurrent players at any given time. It's just not what you want. Not what you want. Absolutely. I would not be, even with Game Pass, I don't think they are probably super thrilled with the stats, but it's also not really surprising because, like, it's a live service multiplayer game where you play as Clay Potts. Like, it's a fun game for 45 minutes on a Friday night with your friends, but you're probably not logging back in like, bro, we got to go grind Kiln. I just don't think that's the kind of game it is. So I don't really know why they would expect more, but yeah, it's just a mess. Warped, thank you for that one. If Xbox goes under, then PlayStation will go from one of the most scummy companies there to number one real quick. They would charge $200 for just PlayStation Plus. Yeah, if you've got a monopoly, you have no incentive to be competitive, to care about pricing or anything. They'll just go crazy. So I agree. It would be a mess. You don't want that. You don't want it. RPG Veteran, I'm an Indian, but I imagine voice acting by Rockstar India. I love my ethnicity and country, but everything will sound funny and bold. LMAO. Well, I believe Rockstar India, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I'm pretty sure most of what they do is animation work. So they do, like, they'll do touch-ups for cutscenes. They do animation work for balancing out, like, literally anything that moves in GTA 6. Rockstar India is like semi in charge of. Like, anything that it moves. I don't think they do physics sim stuff, but they also do engine support. They do engine coding. They do a ton of stuff. But I mean, you just think about how big 1,700 people as a company is. Like, can you imagine? Can you imagine? But that's just one of the support teams working on GTA 6. It's wild. Absolutely wild. But that's what they got. Let's see. And then Nate, thank you for that one. Do you think Halo will do well on PlayStation? I honestly have no freaking idea, Nate. I have thought about it and I just don't know. I don't know. It's absolutely crazy, but it's crazy to think that, like, you know, Halo is going to be there, but I think a lot of it is probably that they just are anticipating that there's a lot of people who used to be Xbox hardcore fans that played it that have moved over since, and so they might as well get some of that. But yeah, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. Okay. I'm on PlayStation looking forward to Halo. Well, that's good to hear. I genuinely don't know if it's a small number or if it's a massive number, but either way, I think they probably built it out because it's an Unreal Engine rebuild, and they are in the spot where they I think it's just I don't know. I think it's probably that it was easier to port it to PlayStation than not. Like, when you build something in Unreal Engine, I don't think it's that difficult to get something ported over. So for them, they're like, why not? Even if it's an extra like 50,000 copies, why not? You know, extra copies, who cares? But okay. Let's see. I think Halo won't sell well, but how much could it have cost to port? I don't know. I think it's more just like free money. If it is easy enough to port, like, why not? Just do it. Why not? Do you guys want to see a throwback? Look at this. Xbox knows what they're doing. Booting up an original Xbox on launch day, November 15th, 2001.
Need to lighten up. Oh, you're gonna blow up the TV.
Booting up the Xbox for the first time felt like turning on a nuclear reactor. Just going through the setup process in the system's UI felt dangerous.
You're cool, huh?
Yep. I was taking my time, soaking it up. This was a brand new console, and I was going to spend the next 5 to 6 years of my life with this thing.
Dude, I miss this UI aesthetic. Why? We need to go back to it. If Asha knows what she's doing, she's going to go back to this like crazy setup. Because the modern, like, minimalistic thing where everything looks like an iPhone menu, I can't stand it. I can't stand it. Go back to this.
This was a brand new console, and I was going to spend the next 5 to 6 years of my life with this thing. We were getting acquainted with one another.
Xbox video game system from Microsoft. Copyright. Warning, this computer program is protected by copyright.
Wow, dude. Wow. I hope that this is an indication of where they're going. Because, like, I have not seen this much, like, discourse and positivity around a new hardware launch in a very, very long time. And, of course, it's a special edition. They haven't revealed pricing as far as I'm aware. I'm guessing it's going to be way more expensive than you think. And they're even then going to have to subsidize it. They're going to have barely any units available because of how things are. But I hope they go full transparent. I love me some transparent electronics. I don't care what anyone says. I love it. That's what they need to do. Give me more transparent electronics. Next gen Xbox, please. Please. Put it front and center of my setup. That'd be amazing. Oh, look at this. Okay, we'll finish with this. Midnight release of the PS2.
A little entertainment system. It's midnight. I'm here for the PlayStation 2. The best entertainment system to hit the world. It's going to be great.
No, this is my nephew. My son's on his way. Yeah, actually, it's his birthday present.
It's one of those things you've been waiting for forever. It finally comes.
Dude, I don't know what that aesthetic is, but the 2000s aesthetic was so like, I don't know what it is. It's just funny to me. Every time I see it, I'm just like, what a vibe. Yeah, dude looks like he's lit. Yeah, for real. Let's see. John Bixby, thank you for the 10. I'm a little further right on the political spectrum. I love 007, loved RE9, loved Control. I'm interested in new God of War. If the game feels fun and the story is good, I don't care if it has female leads. Well, hell yeah. No, it's I think with all of this stuff, you just gotta, like, we don't know hardly anything about the game. So like, people jump into conclusions. Yeah, you don't want to do that. You want to keep an open mind, but it's also fair to point out things that you're like, not sure about that, you know, because they can tweak it. They can make it better. If you're like, I don't know about the talking cube. Yeah, no, that's a fair concern to have. But if you, as long as you're like, yeah, if the game is awesome, I'll enjoy it. Hell yeah. Walter, thank you for the 10. Every night I pray that From Software makes a new DLC for Night Rain or just update, please, I beg. They're busy not finishing Duskbloods. I almost called it Dawn Walker. Duskbloods. They're busy. So, chill.
No, thanks.
Dude, I have such like a core early childhood memory. He brought his cat with him. Early childhood memory of these malls as like a toddler where they had these like green railings and then always fake plants. I don't know what it was about like the very, very early 2000s, but they always had really fake plants everywhere.
It's next evolution of PlayStation, and they're doing it right from the beginning. Backward compatibility, allowing you to play the old games so your PlayStation doesn't die. You don't have to buy new game cartridges. SMITTIE, Smith. Yeah.
All right, everybody, got 15 seconds here. We want to get a countdown from you. Let's go. Let's go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5 at a time.
And stick that whenever they bring it up to the register. I'll take care of you over there. How are you doing this evening?
I understand you were one of like the very first ones.
I've been waiting for a while because I read PlayStation magazines. I mean, I heard the concept of it. Then it said, check your local video game store, see if you can reserve yours. Just having an arcade inside your room, maybe even better than arcade graphics in your room.
Maybe.
Hey, give us PlayStation, would you?
Seats in the bag, there you go. Enjoy it. Oh, yeah.
What do you think? You.
This is why, honestly, is that Gabe Newell? No. Honestly, if they were to just go and say, hey, no online stores for the next gen, like PS6, you got to buy it in person, I'd respect the hell out of it. Like scalping issues, no longer like that big of a deal. Especially you can verify with an ID, like only one console per person. It'd be great. Dude, I would camp out. We'd stream the whole thing. It'd be awesome. It'd be so great. It'd be so great. Like, we've sacrificed something so human at the altar of convenience. And I know this makes me sound like a boomer, but seeing these videos, I'm like, we could do that again. We could have this. You just have to be like, yeah, no Amazon overnight. I don't think that many people would be pissy about it. I think a lot of people are like, yeah, okay. Or open it up to PlayStation or to Amazon overnight, Best Buy overnight, whatever. 3 weeks in, a month in, 2 months in to launch or whatever. But just like for the initial launch, in-store only, at retail, and yeah, like limit one per customer. Do it that way. Dude, it'd be amazing. It'd be amazing. It'd be so great. Just do that.
Ask for it by name.
Really?
They only have one in each other.
Oh, I see. I like Silent Scope, where you play a sniper, so you have to zoom your crosshairs right in on just the right guy, and you got a time limit and all.
Can somebody tell me, what does his shirt mean? Make 7? What does that mean? Is that a reference to something? I wonder what that is. I'm gonna Google it.
Really good. I wonder how many of these I can pick up before I max out my card. I've got. You gonna be able to play tonight?
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna sleep. So
You didn't pay $300 not to play today.
yeah.
It's lost knowledge.
Why am I here? To
Let's see. It says Make 7 is a throwback to a throwback reference to a highly popular and memorable marketing campaign run by the soda brand 7-Up in the late 90s and early 2000s. When put together, so the front of the shirt says Make 7, and then the back of the shirt says Up Yours. And when put together, it forms the punny double entendre, Make 7-Up Yours. But it's funny because the back of the shirt says Up Yours. There you go. See, almost lost knowledge. There you go. There you go. Who knew?
get the PlayStation 2. Get the PlayStation. Get this. It's a wonderful piece of machinery. It's my friend. We're both waiting. How you doing? Hey. How you doing?
Why not wait till tomorrow?
You know?
Dude, I can just tell all of these guys would be so fun to hang out with. You know, they just look like such bros and such gamer chads. You know, oh man.
It's like camping out for like concert tickets.
But this is 26 years ago, dude. These are all grandparents now. Okay, maybe not grandparents. Like they're all like 40s, maybe even 50s. It's crazy. But they've gotten to live through all of the greatest eras of gaming and whatever the hell is happening now.
Is there anything else like that? You know, I mean, why not? You know, get to hang out. You know, see some people that I know. You know, that sort of thing. You know.
You know. They probably even still game. Dude, I see stuff like this and I'm like, dude, can we find even just one of those people? Like, surely if we turn this into a clip and the clip does well, one person sees that clip, recognizes their uncle, and could hook us up on a Discord call or something. I would just love to chat with them about what they felt on that night, where we are now, what their gaming journey was. Like, I just find it fascinating. I just kind of love it, you know? I just love it. Anyway. There's that. Real quick, I want to touch on this. So I almost forgot to talk about this. Skibbity toilet riz. Okay. So new mini segment thing. So you guys remember last week they dropped the gameplay demo for Fable. It did very well. We talked about it at length because, for one, we have a bread loaf right there. It's kind of hard not to see it once you notice it. Somebody on stream pointed it out and like, dude, he has junk in the trunk. I can't unsee it, frankly. Having said that, though, we looked at the other things that are more important, such as the gameplay. There's a lot of cool stuff that they showcased about choice and consequence and all that, but there were a couple of things that were just kind of weird. The cake is back, exactly. The cake is back. There were a lot of things that were just weird about what we saw. Namely, like, payouts were super high. It seemed like progress was super fast. You walk in the village and within a 30-minute demo, he basically runs the whole village. He's about to get engaged. He owns multiple properties. He owns a business and he's buying a house. You know, it seemed to move really quickly. And then the combat at the very end of the teaser, right in here, looked just really stiff and placid, like with enemies just standing, my camera's covering it, with enemies just kind of standing around doing nothing, which just felt really weird. Like he's just standing there the whole time. And it was like, what is going on? So we talked about it. We're like, what is happening? Hopefully they can tighten up the combat. I don't know what's happening. Well, the devs heard our cries. This is why I've always said it's important to verbalize these things. We see this and we're like, why is this guy just standing here? Vocalize it so they know we don't like it. Vocalize it so they know if there's an explanation for it, they need to tell us. Vocalize it, you know, don't be a jerk. But if something is weird and you have questions about it, raise those questions. Well, the devs did. So Idle Sloth clipped these replies. Shout out to Idle Sloth for doing that. But people on Twitter, X, whatever, were asking about this. Harks said the following, quote, oh my God, scrolled in way too much. Please release info about difficulty levels. The game looks promising, but combat seems extremely easy. Enemies just look at you for way too many seconds before taking action. A good challenge is the first thing I want from a game. If it's easy, it's not for me. I think a well-phrased point, comment, question, whatever. And then Fable responded, to their credit, and said, quote, we promise the guards haven't all taken up tea drinking mid-shift. Our team were playing on story difficulty. This is the gentlest way to wander through Albion. Should you prefer a sterner welcome, other difficulty levels will ensure the guards remember their training and are less polite. It's very good to know. That's good. Okay, it's on story difficulty. That explains why they were so easy to kill. That explains why they just kind of stood around, because on story difficulties, AI aggression is cranked all the way to the bottom. So that's good. That explains it. Okay, I would like to see gameplay not on story difficulty before launch, and we probably will. But now they know when you showcase story mode, people, they assume that that's what the normal gameplay is going to look like, because I don't know why you would showcase it in story mode. Like, give the controller to one of your better players and then play it on normal. Like, do it that way. You can always re-record it. I don't know why you would show it on story mode, but now at least it's been vocalized. Hey, we would like to see normal gameplay that most people will be playing on the normal difficulty. So there's that. There was another question raised about all of this. So Gaming Landmarks, actually friend of the channel, often hangs out in here with us in chat. Might even be here now. Who knows? He said in Fable, you can literally change people's lives, how it started, how it's going, showing Jack the beggar turning into Jack the bartender. Fable said, help Jack saving the Colin the pig, successful date. It's been a good day in Albion. And then Gaming Landmarks replied, don't forget blacksmithing, easiest 18k gold I've seen made. So much to do in this game. But they actually took it upon themselves to respond to this specifically. You've spotted a rather generous blacksmith. In the demo, our team sped things up and padded the purse a touch to show the system in action, given the time slot we had. Rest assured, when you arrive in Albion properly, you will have to put in some shifts to earn gold and start purchasing your chosen property. Again, a direct response to another point of feedback, which was, why is it that we start blacksmithing? He needed, I think, 26 or 36,000 gold. And you can see how quickly he gathered it. Just slam. 18,000.
Just like that, I earn a multiplier on my gold.
Like, that's a lot. That was like everything he needed to buy a house, and he got it in like 30 seconds. And so we talked in the segment again about like how that seemed really fast. And then they explained, so it's kind of like inflated. We sped it up, It's not going to be like that in the final game, which is great. I think it's one of those things you should it could have been clearer. I don't know if it was communicated beforehand, at least not in the video. It wasn't, but that's something that I think would have been helpful to know going into the video, that like, hey, we sped up gold acquisition. We lowered the difficulty to story mode. That's why you're going to see the combat seem easier than it actually is. But I think at that point, like, why not just not slow it down, or show it in its normal form and then just show we grinded for a little bit and now we've come back after completing some side quests and we have enough money to buy our house. I think everybody would be like, okay, cool. I don't think you need to stage it in this particular way. But this is how they learn. This is how they see that, okay, maybe next time do it on normal difficulty, vanilla as the game will actually be, so that people don't see these things and go, that's weird. Why is it like that? Why? And that's the thing, is when you're selling your game or any product, you don't want to have to ask why. You don't want to have to then go and explain what actually was going on and explain, no, it's not like that. As they say in politics, if you're explaining, you're losing, because you're already on the back foot narratively. You just don't want to have to deal with that. And so now they know. But they did answer the two major points of feedback that we had, which was that progress seemed super fast and combat seemed way too easy and enemy AI seemed really dumb and like lackadaisical. And they actually responded to those points and have quelled those concerns. I still would like to see what the game looks like vanilla without tweaking it or speeding up gold production or playing on story mode. I'd like to see normal difficulty and see what that combat looks like. But I'm glad that they actually responded to it, and to their credit, they actually did, which I think is good. I think that's very, very good. So there you go. Shout out to the Fable devs for getting back to fan feedback and responding to it directly. I think that's the way to do it. Yeah, we figured it was the demo, but glad they confirmed. Exactly. It was like, it just didn't really make sense. So it was one of those things where like, what is going on? But I'm glad that they answered it. Chevet says with a 2, that cake ain't no lie. You're damn right. And then Christopher says, I'm exactly like those guys in those videos. I'm 45, lived through the midnight launches of the SNES, N64, PS3, PS1 to PS3, Xbox Dreamcast, and Xbox 360. Hell yeah, dude. What an amazing era of gaming. And we could get back to that, but I think it's just, there has to be a conscious choice to leave some of the convenience at home for like the launches and for some of these big moments, and embrace the beat, embrace the story beat, the narrative beat of a midnight launch, of a big release. I think that'll go a long way. I think it will. Is it less convenient? Yeah, but you get something else for that, you know? Is it the most convenient? Like, the most convenient way of interacting with your friends is like a phone call, because you're just, hey, or a text, because you can answer it whenever, you know, respond whenever. But that doesn't mean that you should stop seeing your friends in person, you know? It's less convenient, but there's something you get for that lack of convenience, or at the cost of that convenience, that's well worth it. Mr. Front Lever. Yeah, Mr. Front Lever, thank you for the 5. My buddy and I would hang out for 8 hours in front of GameStop for the Gears of War midnight release and get pizza delivered while we waited. Good times. Dude, that is amazing. I always wanted to do a midnight release. I always wanted to. Like a midnight console launch or something. But by the time, I mean, of course, like the PS5 and Xbox Series X and S, that was lockdowns and COVID era, so that wasn't really a choice. It was all pretty much, you have to reserve it and then you have to go in separately, and it was the whole thing. Prior to that, like PS4 era, I missed the launch of that, so didn't get to do that. But yeah, it's the closest thing I guess nowadays is like the launch of a Switch 2 or a, I remember the launch of the original Switch. That was kind of a moment, but I didn't do any sort of midnight launch. I think I got the original Switch like 2 or 3 months after it launched. I want to say it was a while after. Anyway, tearing down my local August 8th, another GameStop bites the dust. Now I have to drive 10 miles. Dude, they shut down the GameStop close to me. There was one right next to where I get like my business mail delivered. And one day I just showed up to get my mail and it was gone, gutted. It's wild. I mean, to be fair, most of the store was like Funko Pops and like stupid whatever Netflix show crossover merch. Like it was not the same kind of store that it once was, but still sad. End of an era, you know? Just how it is. When was the last time you went to a GameStop? It was probably to that one, probably like a year before that point. And it was because there was one of my cousins was having a birthday, and I wanted to get him a Switch game for his birthday, but I wanted the physical game to like wrap and give to him instead of just like sending him a code, you know? So that was probably the last time. Luke, do your feet touch the floor? Yes. Yeah. I'm not on a booster seat. What? I don't know why you would say that. Show us. Sorry. Swings feet nervously. Yeah. The swings feet nervously got me. That was pretty funny. Jesus. Oh my God. Okay. Anyway, much love, everybody. We got through the big stuff I wanted to get through today. I've got to run because I've got to go help with the kids. They just got back, so I'm gonna go. Yeah, Luke knows the consequences of putting his feet on stream. Yeah, well, crazily enough, you want to see like the moneymaker? Wearing shoes today, baby. Shoes today. I got back from the gym and came straight down. What's my problem? I don't know. Hello, my queen. No. Okay, I'm coming. Much love, everybody. I will see you soon. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye. Mwah.